You are listening to the Red Leaf Retrocast, gaming, anime, and wrestling. Your best location to learn, remember, and relive the past to the present. We watch old and seasonal anime, play old and new video games, and watch all the wrestling we can. You are listening to the Wrestling Cast episode, and I hope you enjoy.
And from Benton Harbor, Michigan, weighing 300 pounds, ladies and gentlemen, Bobo Brazil.
And welcome, fellow wrestling fans, to the Red Leaf Retrocast WrestleCast edition, episode 32, titled Double or Nothing Strong Style. Not the most imaginative one that combines the wrestling pay-per-view names or the big events, but hey, it gets the point across what we're going to be covering. We have, good God, a lot of wrestling shows to cover. Watched a lot of singles matches, lots of pay-per-views. I'm officially caught up. It's a nice, beautiful Saturday afternoon. I'm recording this, and I'm going to release it the same day. It's really nice. I have officially, still a little cough, but officially healed from my horrible, horrible disease I had. Big bad cold. Just to run down what we got. We got a lot of women's wrestling. Oz, Ice Ribbon, OTT, covering NXT TakeOver. Nice little independent wrestling, title change we're going to be going over, continuing our NWA US title, Retro Wrestler Spotlight, our nice weekly wrestling recaps are covering MLW and Uncharted territory, over on Independent Wrestling TV. That's continuing. Got lots of Stardom, Dragon Gate, WXW and Progress Wrestling have returned to the podcast finally after a big hiatus since, I believe the New York shows, 2 months ago now, yeah. We got Boss J coming to an end. It's at the time of recording, the finals has happened, but Dominion has not. That will be in the next episode. And then naturally finishing out with WCW Nitro. As Mr. Kitty Cat over here knows I'm recording, so he needs to be near me, getting on the table. So yeah, big long show today. I hope to go through everything pretty quick, get my points across. I'm glad you're here. No guest today. I don't expect my guests to watch as much indie wrestling as I do, but this is a hodgepodge. I hope everyone gets to catch up on whatever promotion they like following from me. And then in other news, we reached episode 50 of the anime cast. I got I drank quite a lot during that one. It was a big celebration for the anime cast getting to such a milestone. Anime Radicals, still a part of that network. So if you're an anime fan, go check out Anime Radicals. Anime Radicals on Twitter and your various podcast outlets. And some unfortunate news is Retro Twitch Discord has come to an end. The guy that's been running it he decided family's more important right now. He's having a couple kids, his second one, with the first one being pretty young, so he's shutting Retro Twitch down. He didn't feel comfortable not being able to continue doing it, but luckily there is another Discord that has been started from much of the community. We've transferred over there. It's called the Arcade Game Room, headed up by Retro Games Done Badly, so you can contact him or myself for access to the Discord. So if you're a fan of retro gaming, go head on over there. That's our new platform for Discord. All right, man. Let's get going with some women's wrestling, some Joshi. had some suggestions over a couple Oz Academy shows to go check out. So I did a big catch up. I watched a couple of them actually. Because when you're sick, you have no objective other than to stay bedridden or on the couch, so that's kind of also why I was able to watch so much. So anyways, first Oz Academy show. And for those that aren't familiar with Oz Academy, it's one of the older post All Japan women promotions in Japan. It's run by Aja Kong for the most part. Lots of good older talent and a good chunk of younger talent on the rise. So that's what Oz Academy is. It's a little bit more hardcore. The stories aren't so much what I'm personally into, but occasionally shows do come out that I get into, and that's what happened here. So the first one is all the way back in April, on April 14th, titled "It is the Dawn of the Era," and the match, basically the takeaway was the main event, which is Mayumi Ozaki, head of Ozaki-gun. Think of Minoru Suzuki's stable over in New Japan to that extent. This is like a hostile takeover of the promotion. Mayumi Ozaki's a much older women's wrestler. She's taking on Hikaru Shida, a woman we just saw sign with AEW, which we'll get more to Shida later. She's been the champion for well over a year, and this is kind of the culmination of a long-term story of Ozaki-gun taking over. And we'll see more of that takeover in the next show, too. So, what I'm confused about with Oz is the whole ref situation all the time. And in this particular match, just the ref didn't seem to care at all during the whole shish kebab of maneuvers and outside interference, but regardless of how I felt about the ref, Ozaki-gun would interfere outside and in the ring. This turned out to... They did have the face-off moments of Ozaki against Shida, which I was really into. I loved the... Ozaki brought in a chain, and Shida's trademark is her kendo stick, with her big kendo background. They had a big face-off, ending with Ozaki utilizing a baseball helmet, of all things, to counter. It was really funny. She gets her chain knocked away and everything, then one of her stablemates hands her a baseball helmet. She puts that on. Shida hits the helmet, and like, ha-ha, I gotcha, and then she cracks her with the helmet as a weapon from there. And then they went back to kind of a same weapon face-off again later, which was even better. Which is actually goes into the finish to the match, where ends with a kendo stick versus chain again, but then they went counter for counter, and then they both red missed each other. So Ozaki red missed Shida somehow red missed back, so neither of them can see. Shida hits her flash magic knee, and then something happens that I always hate in wrestling, no matter who it is or what promotion is, and that is the no-sell finisher into a pin. The last time, my most recent memory of this that comes into my mind is at a takeover. It was Baszler against Kairi Sane, in which Kairi hits her patented top rope elbow, and then it's just turned over into a pin, match over. That same exact sequence happened here. Flash magic knee, rolled over into a pin. A real sour way for Shida to end her 350-plus day reign with the title. At the very least, there was a post-match just brawl, essentially, where Shida loses it. She's extremely pissed off. So at least she cares about how everything went down at the end. There was a very good camera moment of the red mist just dripping down her face, so it looks like she's, all carried up. Horror reference for those. It's all in her teeth. It looks like she's just a bloody mess, and she's just having this scream and just very scary look on her face. She's kendo sticking all around. As she's walking in the back, she just throws her kendo stick up against the wall like 10 feet in front of her. Cuts a very good kind of post-match promo where she's still fuming, but she's trying to contain herself. But yeah, Ozaki's the champ, and moving on to the next show, which happened the very next month, which took place on May 12th, titled Something Happening Tonight. And this is where a tag title match happened, which featured Ozaki-gun members Maya Yukihi. Maya Yukihi and Saori Ano defeat the Beast Friends of Hiroyo Matsumoto and Kaori Yoneyama. We'll get to more Yoneyama over time in the next couple podcast episodes here. But I noticed the ring announcer at Oz Academy. Ice Ribbon, they say they switch between Yuki and Yukihi, and the way they say it makes it sound like it's Yuki, but they do still pronounce the H, it's just very slight. So I'm going back to saying Maya Yukihi. So I'm trying to pronounce it as right as I can, based on how I'm hearing it. So Ozaki-gun defeat the Beast Friends, crazily overbooked with Ozaki-gun here, and the paid-off ref dude named Police. So there's what I mean by this is, so this tag match goes 15 minutes, 52 seconds. There's this referee who's a member of Ozaki-gun, and I'm definitely missing some story here, how this guy became the referee of this match. I'm to my understanding, there is something with contracts that Ozaki-gun's earning in some way, and that earns them to right to challenge for titles and have their own sort of stipulations. So back to the title match, I assume it was kind of this no DQ situation that I just didn't know about. Same thing here, but this time they have a stable member as the referee. This dude's just called Police, I guess. And my joke here is I found the moment when Yoneyama became Death Yama-san. This guy named Police flash magics her, like Daniel Bryan's running knee type thing, to death. He knees the shit out of her, and wow. It was right here. The match was okay. I really like the tag team of Maya and Saori Ano. Saori Ano has a lot of work to do in the ring, for sure. It's definitely a lot of Maya's, I love Maya's heel work here. I love her her darker straight hair. This whole sex appeal she has in her character in Oz Academy. It's so different than what we get in Ice Ribbon. And Saori Ano is another kind of femme fatale character facing off against, the big babyface group, the not attractive duo of Matsumoto and Yoneyama. Yoneyama and Matsumoto doing everything they can to overcome this paid-off ref. It was really funny. Like, the ref gets knocked down, and so they're knocking down Maya and Saori, and they have to somehow get this guy to count for them. Well, he's not counting for them. If he does, it's super slow. They're going to kick out. So they knock him down, and then they start trying to count for him, so then that causes Ozaki-gun to essentially attack them to get them off the referee from making a count. But anyways, new tag team champions. Now they have the two main titles, the tag and the main title. Aja Kong was saying something, talking to Ozaki. That's gonna lead to something. So I enjoyed what I saw from Oz Academy, as overbooked and nonsensical as it was. But I did find a lot of entertainment, and I do like the characters. I just wish the wrestling just would tone back on so much interference to make it a little bit more straightforward. I think it's overbooked a bit too much. So, this is going to be a long one if I'm going to keep going at this pace, so I got to speed it up. Ice Ribbon's next. I watched 2 events. This took place during Golden Week, so similar to last podcast, Stardom had their Golden Week. Ice Ribbon also had a couple shows during that off week in Japan. So this is 957 Day 1, 958 Day 2. 957 Day 1 featured... This was the Maya Yukihi show. Like, no doubt. She is on a roll. She just won the tag titles in Oz Academy. Now, she's in a triangle ribbon title match, which is a title that's always defended in triple threat matches. 3 ways. I like that. It makes it very unique. And it also functions at the same time as their mid-card title. I have seen it in one-on-ones as a hardcore match, but I think because it's called the Triangle Ribbon, they want to try to get it back to its roots. This featured Mayukihi, Tsukasa Fujimoto, and the champion, whom months and months ago, Bonnie Oikawa, a referee, won the title. And she's a joke character. Comedy relief type character. This was the bitter Fujimoto show, and kind of working together with Maya on occasion to get rid of this joke champ. Maya wins with one of the worst looking sharpshooters I have seen in a long time. At least she sat down and pulled hard backwards to make it look painful, but the legs were positioned horribly. Please work on that, Maya. I do like adding a submission to your arsenal, but man, you really gotta cross the legs better, pull on the knee. It's almost like The Rock when he used to do it, when he was wrestling, where it would just twist the legs and then turn over. It doesn't look like you're doing a submission at all. So, if I see her wrap the ankles more instead of the legs and then pull back, that will at least do it much better for me. It won't be technically a sharpshooter anymore. But yeah, Maya Yukihi wins the Triangle Ribbon title. So now with the Infinity title, the Triangle, and the Tag, Maya Yukihi has all the titles in Ice Ribbon. She is the new belt collector, a 4th if you include her tag in Oz Academy. It's nuts. She is on a roll to become one of the biggest Joshi wrestlers and women's wrestlers in the world. I adore her. She has 2 completely different characters, and I love them both. 958 Day 2. The match here I want to discuss. Oh, the Triangle Ribbon match only went about 10:45. 6-man tag match. We saw the team of Takiya Saya, who I've been really high on lately, Tsukasa Fujimoto and Tsukushi against Azure Revolution, which is Risa Sera and Maya Yukihi, and Suzu Suzuki, kind of young lion. So going into this match, I thought for sure Suzu Suzuki was going to eat the pin. Match goes 19 minutes, 2 seconds, so it gets a great amount of time. And what ends up happening is Takiya Saya, pins Maya at the end via her spinning bow and arrow bomb. So sets him up in the bow and arrow submission hold and then spins him into more or less a sidewalk slam. It's a pretty unique finisher. I quite like it. Shows off some of her power. She was able to hit this because before this, Tsukasa Fujimoto hit her own spinning crucifix bomb, which I love that move. It looks so phenomenal. So it took 2 finishers for Maya to be pinned. So this obviously, to me, sets up a Takiya Saya match. So the prediction I'm seeing going forward is Maya's going to be in these, because she's the tag team champ and she's also the triangle champ. Obviously, she can't defend like 3 titles in one show. So what's going to happen is she's going to be in a number of trios and tag matches, and she will eat the pin in some beatdown fashion like we saw here to justify the next contender. So I love Takiya Saya as the next contender. I mean, she already faced Tsukushi. She beat Fujimoto for the title. So Takiya Saya is a great next opponent. I love the booking here. The match was very entertaining. Like I said, it goes like just under 20 minutes. Takiya Saya is looking great. I love her springboard turnaround crossbody from the top rope. It looks amazing. I love maneuvers like that. I'm looking forward to what Ice Ribbon has in the future. I'm paying attention to any show that comes out on Puroso Dream. And anything Maya's in, I'm like glued to it. Anything Takiya Saya's in, I'm in. Because whoever pins her, or if Maya goes to a draw at some point, there's your next contender for any title. It's pretty crazy. So moving on. Very good Joshi women's wrestling there. Moving on to Gotta take my notes. I gotta keep my timestamps. I know I got really good feedback for me marking down my timestamps for these promotions and how long each one goes. OTT, a promotion I don't think we've spoken about on this podcast since Scrappermania. So there's been a number of house shows. I call them house shows. They're just kind of the undercard. But anyways, OTT Belfast Banjaxed or Banjaxed, however. I don't know. This was a good card. I was quite interested. OTT is going to have to start building new stars. I haven't seen Scotty Davis be booked into anything spectacular since his Jushin Thunder Liger win. I think that's a major misstep by OTT. He needs to be getting into some singles matches and build him up. But I saw a different guy being built up here on this show. First of all, David Starr defeats Sean Maxer Guinness via ref stoppage. I think it went along too long with the ref deciding to stop the match. David Starr works the knee. He's talking shit. Sean Guinness eventually just can't get up anymore, and the ref finally stops it. David Starr was saying some very interesting things, like do it for yourself, don't do it for these, this crowd. Your best friend's Jordan Devlin. What did he ever do for you? When you were injured, he didn't come from you. So it reminds me of the whole Moose Austin Aries thing during that whole thing with Eddie Edwards over in Impact. So it really reminded me of that. So I felt a turn here for Guinness. The next match was a women's match, and I really love the OTT women's division. They have a lot of talent that I don't think they use enough. You have Sami Zayn, Valkyrie, Raven Creed, Session Moth Martina. The list goes on. They have at least 10 women, all they're either good workers or have a great character. So Valkyrie, whom I'm seeing a lot of now in these major Euro promotions finally crop up. I don't know where she's been. I didn't look into it. But she's against Raven Creed. Valkyrie's a heel in this case. She has Debbie Keitel, I think, in her corner with a guy I can't remember. So she has this kind of heel trio stable going on to take the title off Raven Creed. Valkyrie does it. She's the new OTT Women's Champion, and a nice, very nice new title presented at the end of that. Raven Creed has a lot of work to do in the ring. I believe she's only been wrestling for a couple of years, which also says a lot that overall the other women in the promo, obviously Sami Zayn can't have the title forever, and she has, she needs some time off, and this is how you build new stars. But regardless, Valkyrie is the champ. I love that decision. I love the new title. It looks amazing. And then on to the main event. Jordan Devlin retains his title, but the whole story, it was against a guy I was not interested in. I didn't believe for 1 second Devlin was going to lose. But the big point is David Starr, in his hipster glasses, with his independent shirt on, was sitting ringside, cheering on his former friend. After the title match, David Starr challenges him. He mentions OTT isn't the only promotion out there, and the last time they met in the ring, he beat Jordan Devlin, referencing to Progress, which we'll get to later, claiming the #1 contendership for the OTT title. Very interesting booking here, because David Starr just took out Sean Guinness, and then he beat the hometown hero at Scrappermania. So he does have 2 very convincing wins over hometown guys. So there is something to that. However, Devlin relays their feud from Homecoming, where the path to Walter and the title was through him. So, in order to get to, it's all well and good to beat a couple guys, but you didn't beat me, and you sure as hell haven't beaten Walter. That's still the case. If Star wants Devlin, then he must beat my man, the big Austrian Walter. I love the promo here. I love the feud. I am revving up because it's Star against Walter at WrestleRama 3. Now, this does bring up two questions. David Starr, spoiler alert, wins Progress Super Strong Style 16. I'll talk about it more in detail later in the show. But now, he's facing him at WrestleRama 3 for the chance to go after Devlin's OTT title. Does he lose one of those matches? Which match is first? Which match is second? Does he win both of them? Gets 2 wins over Walter? Or is this an even longer storyline that's going to continue where he doesn't win either? So I guess that's 3 questions. And it's not even in WXW, Walter's promotion, his home, where David Starr quit back in April. Interesting. Well, WrestleRama 3 takes place at the end of June, and we don't have a date when David Starr challenges Walter for the Progress title. A lot of speculation here. Makes you very interested on what's going to happen, and it's cross-promotion in Europe. Quite excited. So that was OTT. The Banjaxed show in Belfast really got me hyped for WrestleRama 3. I'm very excited to be and looking forward to that show down the road in the future. So now, onto all the NXT. So it's not just NXT TakeOver 25 that I'm talking about here. Also, I'm first going to talk about NXT UK. I know I'm very outspoken in various wrestling discords to fans in general that NXT UK is bland milquetoast wrestling at its finest. You have these amazing characters and wrestlers, among the best in the world, definitely the best talent amassed in Europe across promotions all in one place. The formula is there for success, but instead we get bland, lazy booking, and stripped characters. So why am I watching NXT UK? Well, I wanted to watch Walter Pete Dunne 2, which took place in Scotland, of all places, on May 22nd. Match was decent. I didn't bother timing it. It was a less worked version and overbooked version of their takeover match. And what I mean by less worked version is it was a lot safer. It felt like NXT UK booked this to just be a rematch and nothing more. It didn't have the big match feel that it had before at all. It was just, I get a rematch, I want the title back. Give it to me. And Walter goes, okay, whatever. So it ends with Fabian Eichner coming down to distract the ref. He kind of fumbles around a bit. And then Axel Dieter Jr., a.k.a. Marcel Bartel now, in NXT anyways, attacking Dunne from behind. Walter then powerbombs Pete Dunne for the win. Almost no crowd reaction. It was dead. And I attribute this to the mostly WWE crowd that was at this show, and the fact that Ringkampf from WXW has basically zero history in Scotland. So this is a very uninformed and bad move on WWE's part. If you would have done this in, let's say, London, or a place where Dieter and Walter have more history, because to my knowledge, ICW in Scotland doesn't have a lot of the WXW wrestlers go over there. Not really. So contribute to the fact that, let's say, half of the ICW crowd is at this event, and then the rest are WWE crowd. What in God's name are they thinking to put a German stable over? Which, by the way, only Dieter's German. This is like Central Europe, because Eichner is technically Italian, but he does speak German, so there's that. I mean, all three of them do speak German, but they're all from different... All three of them are from different countries. They have this whole European Union, I guess it's called the Union or something, name. I don't get what they're going for here. Well, I get exactly what they're going for, but the booking is just, well, they have the stable in Europe. I guess all of Europe knows it. No, Europe is filled with different countries and cultures on the same vast size of the United States, but imagine each state has its own language and culture. Like, it's WWE having no clue what they're doing here with NXT UK. It's just another example of that. The match was fine. Again, I said it was decent. It was just very typical WWE fashion. Quite disappointing. But let's get on to a good WWE show, which is actually NXT TakeOver 25. And you know what? I haven't played a drop yet on this podcast, so let's do this right here. Where's Good God. Where's Johnny? Oh no. Ah, fuck it, Walter. I just couldn't find the Johnny Gargano drop. All of a sudden. Huh. I couldn't have deleted it. That sounds silly. Why would I do such a thing? Oh well. Anyways. Oh, there it is. Okay. Fuck it, I'll play it twice. Alright. There's some fun there. Okay, so TakeOver 25. I like the name. Quite a fan of the time. It's kind of surreal to think that there's been 25 takeovers already. And they're all at such high levels. It was a good show. Don't get me wrong. I was entertained. There's just a number of things I didn't enjoy as the wrestling fan I am. So keep that in mind. Especially if you're a long listener of this podcast, Red Leaf Retrocast, found on iTunes, Spotify, and now iHeartRadio. Yeah, we're on there. Nice little plug. So the first match was Matt Riddle against Roderick Strong. Riddle wins. Good for Strong in his showing, but again, if you're a long-time listener, you know I'm not a Matt Riddle fan, and it has nothing to do with his character, you know, the whole King of Bros, or his demeanor. It's how he's booked and his style in the ring. And it's definitely not the MMA style that bothers me, because I love Tom Lawler over in MLW and his recent run and beyond. I mean, me not liking Riddle's no secret. So, Riddle kicks out of like 4 finishers, and then he does his newly found kind of MMA mixed with a WWE finisher where he elbows and then does the jumping tombstone, the Bro Derek, as he calls it, which he's got the good names. But it's a Matt Riddle match, and now, instead of a more hard-hitting Matt Riddle, at least I got on the indies, and occasionally I'd be like, alright, Riddle made me eat my words, that was a really good match. Happened last year, on more than one occasion. But this was definitely a match where I'm just thinking to myself, he's gonna kick out. Yep. And he kicks out of another finisher. Yeah. And he kicks out another one. And I just know what's happening. I've seen Matt Riddle just too much, and if he's gonna lose, the way he's always booked is he's got to kick out of at least 7 finishers with some ridiculous like top rope avalanche maneuver of that finisher to. Anyways, I'm getting carried away with myself. Let's move on. Tag team title ladder match for the vacated, just dropped tag titles that the War Raider Viking Experience Bros just kind of said, fuck it, we don't want these titles anymore, they're worthless to us. Great way to get your tag titles over after all that work protecting them, make them look like legit things. So the people in this match, is kind of an example of your tag team division is kind of decimated right now. It consisted of the Forgotten Sons, got to the finals of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Tournament, whom lost in the finals to Ricochet and Aleister Black, whom are just like not on TV anymore. Or Ricochet is like just a flippy dude on TV. It's pretty ridiculous. So they didn't even get as much as I dislike the Forgotten Sons, and I turned the TV off. I'm so uninterested in these guys. Probably should have gone over in hindsight. Street Profits were also in this one. Team 1-2, who I'm a big fan of, but they're not on TV as much as I think they would be, whether it's on NXT UK or what, which is weird that they're not in NXT. Anyways, Lorcan and Birch, and then O'Reilly and Fish from Undisputed Era / the Ring of Honor stable. Street Profits win what I think was a spot fest kind of sloppy ladder match to become the new tag champs. I'm thinking, as I'm watching this, I'm thinking to myself, if Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish weren't in this match, would I have enjoyed this? And I don't know if I would. Because every spot and hard-worked area of the match that occurred had mostly Kyle O'Reilly in it, and Bobby Fish. I thought Angelo Dawkins looked awful in this match. He was just wandering around a ring, waiting for his spot, and then it wasn't executed well in the end. Lorcan and Birch looked way out of their element. You can tell they just don't do these gimmick matches very often. And then my favorite moment was when eventually the Forgotten Sons came into the ring. I think it was Gunner. I constantly forgot they were in the match. It's quite something. But yeah, luckily Undisputed Era were able to salvage most of this match, and at least the spot at the end was good, where Montez Ford leaps onto the ladder, looks at him, pushes him off, gets the title. So Street Profits are your new tag team champions. I don't see that ending well. I know a lot of people are fans of them, but I'm not. And then probably the weakest match on the show, to me, was the most entertaining and second most compelling. And that's Tyler Breeze losing to the Velveteen Dream in an awesome 16-minute character match for the North American title. This shows Breeze can still work at a high level, but I'm not sure how I feel about a Breeze redemption story here, and have him lose like this, though. Like, I could see Tyler Breeze and Velveteen Dream becoming a tag team down the line, with how their characters mesh together. And if this is truly a Breeze going back to NXT and being there on a more full-time basis, why wouldn't you put him over in this match? Velveteen Dream's so fucking over and hyped with the crowd that he could lose this, and I'd be very much down for a rematch, right? Or it continues to build another story with that whole tag team situation. Breeze losing here just, to me, affirms that he's a loser. Yeah, great character. He's well over in the crowd, but I just don't see the point. Is this going to be like the Johnny Gargano thing, where he loses at TakeOver and then gets on to another feud and loses again? I don't know. I'm kind of lost on the choice here. Regardless, I thought the match was very entertaining. For two guys that, for Dream being as young as he is, and Breeze just not being able to wrestle at a high level as often as he should, this was good. Then we had a match that pissed me off in a few different ways, and that's Baszler submitting Io Shirai in 12 minutes and 15 seconds. All right. Get this out of the way. I think this is Shayna Baszler's best match I've seen. However, there was a huge flaw. And it has a lot to do with this match being as good as it was, has everything to do with Io Shirai and nothing to do with Shayna Baszler. What I mean by this, because I just said this was Baszler's best match, but I didn't like her in the match. and the booking really, really irked me. So here we go. Io basically works the same style as Kairi, with more kicks and strikes, because that's more her specialty, while Kairi has her elbow and forearm maneuvers, along with the more high-flying. Even though Io is a better high flyer. I contribute the whole flying factor to the fact that Kairi's finisher is the elbow drop. So this should be more easily adjustable based on Baszler's MMA work and the whole history with Stardom and whom she's worked with. But instead, what we get is a fully armed work match with Io doing kind of the same 3 comeback moves over and over again to try and get the heat out of the crowd and get us behind. So this was, and I went and put them side by side. I watched Kairi versus Baszler, just any encounter. I think I watched their first one, not the Mae Young Classic one, their first title match. Then I had this one next to it. Baszler does the exact same moves in the exact same sequence. I was like, I knew I've seen this match before. So the difference being that Io's moveset has nothing to do with her arm. So that's why I hated it so much, like it finally clicked. I'm like, this makes no sense. Baszler in the ring story should lose in the end because she worked the wrong body part. So if Io would have won with the comeback, wins with the moonsault, everything, then I wouldn't have hated this as much as I did, but I knew I saw the same exact match. Well, anyways, I also didn't like the post-match beatdown and the non-factor interference that was just way out of place. So the story, there was a little story of Kairi getting the shit kicked out of her by Baszler. That's Io's best friend, and then Kairi is now on the main roster, not even on TV. Anyways, then Candice LeRae is involved because she's a bit player in this world, and then you have Shayna Baszler's MMA buddies who still can't wrestle because they're so green. So they come down, and Candice LeRae comes down with a kendo stick and beats him up, and then Io is just kind of cheering him on. That was it. What was the point of that? The post-match beatdown with the kendo stick, to me, just makes Io look like a sore loser. So, are we going to get like a street fight or something down the line? Or a 6-person tag? Or I don't know. If Io Shirai turns heel in some way, then I guess, but that's not what I got from this. It just made her seem like a sore loser, and now Baszler is unbeatable, and with the rumors of her getting called up to the main roster, now I'm just thinking to myself, all of that just came across to me as sour. But anyways, moving on. Io lost. Not happy. Match of the night. Adam Cole defeats Johnny Gargano in a 32-minute, glorious 5-star match. Hell yeah. Match of the night easily. Very intense. Great move exchanges. Adam Cole hits his jumping Canadian Destroyer on Gargano. Gargano is just a phenomenal worker. This match is definitely go out of your way to watch it. It wasn't as good as their 2 out of 3 falls match at NXT Mania weekend. But from a story perspective, I had issues with it because they had the 2 out of 3 falls match for the vacated title, and Gargano went over clean despite all of the Undisputed Era's interference, and this match, it just leads to his regular singles match. I don't know, it just didn't jive well story-wise. It's not consistent, but hey, we don't watch WWE for consistency. And yes, I'm calling out NXT on this as well. Especially, yeah. But I did really like the moment where Adam Cole kind of beckons for the Undisputed Era to help him out, and yet no one comes out, so that kind of plays into that whole Roderick Strong disconnect with the group all of a sudden. And then having Undisputed Era, O'Reilly Fish, and Strong both lose on the same night, yet Adam Cole wins. You know, there could be a story there that we're not seen yet where Adam Cole just goes, you know what, you guys didn't help me, I'm out. And that would kind of go with the latest reports that Cole is going to join Baszler on the main roster very soon. So if this just, I don't know, depending on how early they're called up, why would you have these two retain and not put someone over that's going to be there in the foreseeable future? And have Gargano keep the title and get a new opponent like a Keith Lee or Matt Riddle, but damn, I don't know. I had a lot more thoughts about this takeover 25 here, probably more than I should. I did enjoy the wrestling part of it, but from the story points and the who's who and what the future entails, I don't know. It just, everything came across as sour to me. Maybe it also has to do with we hold the NXT takeovers at such a high standard now. When something doesn't meet close to that standard, that you start picking too many holes in it rather than just enjoying the show. So maybe that's what happened here. But I getting my points across nevertheless. And something that just kind of made me kind of smile and be sad as a fan at the same time was what happened with Independent Wrestling's independent title at Midwest Mixtape. So if you remember at Lethal Lottery from Beyond Wrestling, after Chris Statlander rolled up Kimberly, even though that was a feud, she cashed in her treasure hunt medallion for the right to get a title shot against Orange Cassidy, who's the champion. But instead of cashing it in at a Beyond show, she cashed it in at a show in Chicago called Midwest Mixtape, which, oh boy, that was a rough independent wrestling show. Main event, though, was Chris Statlander versus Orange Cassidy for the independent wrestling title. The match only goes 9 minutes, 52 seconds, so it wasn't very long. And the first 3 minutes was your Orange Cassidy shtick, mixed with some of Statlander's alien shtick. At one point they even like mirrored each other moves, like a cartoon, where it's like they put up their left hand, the other person also puts up their left hand at the same time. So I guess there's some mind powers there with Chris Statlander. Anyways, within the 3 minutes then, Cassidy gets serious, hits a dragon screw, and a vicious knee strike counter. Statlander sells the knee very well into the match, but then totally ignores it at the end. Seth Rollins moment. Something that will always bother me about selling limb work is when you overcome the odds, overcome even why you were bothered selling it in the first place, when at the end the adrenaline takes over and you no longer feel it. Anyways, regardless, it was a faster pace. It gelled pretty well. The two gelled well. I did enjoy it. It was just really short. Didn't like the non-knee sell. Statlander avoids the orange juice spit, hits an electric chair face buster into a peach sunrise, but spikes Cassidy right on his fucking head for the win, ending Cassidy's IWTV title reign at 15 defenses, falling 2 short of Tracy Williams' record. Bummer for Orange Cassidy. Statlander is also the first woman to hold the title, which is a great honor indeed. Very sad I wasn't able to see this live or the cash-in at a Beyond show. Otherwise, I'd be down. The dropping Orange Cassidy on his head kind of scared me. But anyways, Chris Statlander's the new champion. The story was there. She's been winning a lot of singles matches. Then she wins Treasure Hunt. She wins a feud with Kimberly. She cashes in, wins the title. Booked a strong contender to win the title. Nothing wrong with that. And across different promotions, too. Mostly in Beyond, though. Beyond created a star. Good for them. So there you go. Okay. Well, let me play this drop, and we can go on to the Wrestler Spotlight. I'm always excited for that.
The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
Alright, boys. Retro Wrestler Spotlight, continuing our journey going through all the NWA US and US champions of all time. We are on NWA US champion number 6, Bobo Brazil, technically champion number 8 along the list. Unfortunately, he would only hold the title for about 22 days, similar to Terry Funk's run of being short and moving on to other feuds and bigger main event aspects. So after Paul Jones and Blackjack Mulligan played back and forth with the title for all of 1976, a man by the name of Bobo Brazil wins the title from Blackjack Mulligan in 1977, July. This title reign is, what makes Bobo Brazil so famous is he was the first African American to win a major title. Either here or winning the NWA title in the 60s in a kind of a vacate aspect with Nature Boy Buddy Rogers kind of faking an injury. This title reign is not recognized officially by the NWA, but it depends on who you ask. But anyways, regardless, Bobo Brazil is, as far as I'm concerned, the man who broke down race barriers in the ring, which is no small feat. Arguably best known for his run in Detroit's NWA promotion, Big Time Wrestling, where you can watch a lot of those matches on YouTube. It's very easy to find, where he wrestled the much-hated pioneer of hardcore wrestling, The Sheik. And I watched that match. It's very interesting to watch. It really holds up to time and how a hardcore match just is what a hardcore match is, and that's lots of weapons, lots of heel tactics, and the babyface coming back. Bobo Brazil was famous for his coco headbutt, his coco butt, where he'd jump and crack his very strong, genetically enhanced forehead, which played into a lot of his matches, where such as you drop a knee on his head and he'd no-sell it, and then the guy would kind of go, "Oh my god, what's happening?" And the crowd would always go nuts. I really liked his All Japan match I found on YouTube, which is a 2 out of 3 falls match against champion Jack Briscoe. Again, it seems every person I've covered on this journey has had a good match with Jack Briscoe and even Harley Race of the past. So that kind of tells you what those two guys were in the industry, right? Speaking of course he had a good match against Harley Race as well. I looked for a Terry Funk match, but couldn't find one. And this is mostly because I'm trying to watch more Terry Funk matches to get an even better feel for him other than his hardcore part, right? Because everything I read about Terry Funk is he was this amazing worker before the hardcore guy kind of took over in his later years. I did cover Terry Funk, but I wasn't totally getting the whole. I guess I was too shell shocked with this different kind of guy I'm seeing in the ring in front of me. But anyways, back to Bobo Brazil. Bobo would have some crazy awesome fun bouts versus every heel in the business. Every major heel, for that matter, including Ric Flair. Bobo had a crazy amount of charisma with his arm mannerisms. He would put Alka-Seltzer in his mouth to make it look like he was foaming at the mouth when he'd like Hulk up kind of thing. In his All Japan match, a woman gave him flowers and he eats the flowers, so it looks like he's foaming in the mouth there as well. It's pretty crazy. Huge charismatic character. And due to this, he got over even the most biased of promoters and just racist fans. So this caused it forced their hand, where they'd book him not just against other black guys, because that was a thing, right? So he and the fans then got over with him so well that they wanted him to face better opponents, quote unquote. And that was how he'd always be in the ring with the guys like Jack Briscoe, Ric Flair, Harley Race, The Sheik, he was just that popular. It was the learning. I mean, I've heard Bobo Brazil's name, but I didn't realize before doing this like what an impact this guy had. Is Bobo the best wrestler ever? No. But hot damn if he wasn't good at being who he was, right? He knew his character. He knew what to do. He knew how to work the audience and make a comeback. And it doesn't hurt having some of the greatest opponents of all time. Including his famous face versus face bout versus Bruno Sammartino. Like, utterly fantastic. This was a great learning experience in learning who Bobo Brazil was, his impact on the industry just in general. Pretty incredible. I always thought Ron Simmons was kind of that guy who broke a lot of the barriers and held records and everything. But the difference was Ron Simmons wasn't very over with the crowd, right? He was very lukewarm. Bobo Brazil, well, it's like night and day. The crowd adores Bobo Brazil. It was very fun to watch. I watched like 8 matches of Bobo Brazil, and they all felt different, even though it was mostly the same thing. Coco butt, revved up punches, choking in the corner, and big slaps with his giant hand, right? But the way it would come across on your screen was way different, right? It's very fascinating. I definitely liked his matches here more than what I saw with, say, Blackjack Mulligan, whom we covered previously. I kind of wish I had more U.S. title matches to go over Bobo Brazil, but oh well, he wasn't a champion very long. You know, I ran into the same issue with Terry Funk, but I was able to find much more early mid to late 70s matches with Bobo here because of his long storied career and who he's faced. He's a big deal. And I'm slowly making a list of kind of my personal favorite and how long the guy had the NWA US title, kind of a ranking system. I don't think Bobo Brazil and Terry Funk are going to be very high on the list because they didn't have it very long, but their character was just so good. Bobo's no exception. So there you go. Very good learning experience. Very happy with this one. So let's move on to weekly wrestling. To MLW. Where are you at, buddy? I'm having a hard time finding my drops today. Okay. MLW, Major League Wrestling. Isn't this fun, right? Right, guys? We're getting ready for Fury Road. We're 3 weeks out. Don't want to lose my voice again. 3 weeks out from Fury Road. We're at MLW episode 58. Get a cold open. The story here is the story's going on is we got a national openweight title coming to fruition here. We got infighting between Promociones Dorado and Low Key, mixed with the rivalry with Mance Warner and Sami Callihan. We have Tom Lawler having his issues with Contra Unit, as well as Contra Unit just causing absolute mayhem within MLW. And then a whole lot of nothing after that, right? So, a lot of ongoing storylines within the promotion, even though there's a larger larger cast of characters. It seems to be spearheaded by about 4 people, right? Or, excuse me. Something like that. You get what I'm saying. But anyways, let's move on. Promociones Dorado, Hijo de la Park, and Ricky Martinez with Selena de la Renta accompanied them, and she still looks as good as ever, boys. They're taking on Mance Warner and Sami Callihan, based on the cliffhanger of last week. Callihan wins via pile driver on Ricky, but then a brawl breaks out with Alright, gotta slow down. Ball breaks out. A ball breaks out. No. Messing up, guys. A brawl breaks out post-match. The bell is ringing profusely, like nobody's business, as commentary puts it off as purely a setup by Zelina De La Renta. Doesn't make sense to me, but anyways, LA Park does eventually get involved. This has to be setting up for the War Games match. Assuming MLW still has War Games to do. I don't know. I mean, I get where it's going. It just seems like Promociones Dorados kind of in shambles. Even though they're just coming off the Cinco de Mayo show where they all won. It's very weird. It's very weird how a single match can make you question these things. So anyways, we got a singles match. Minoru Tanaka defeats Daga. I really like Minoru Tanaka. I'll watch him any day. Very good technical wrestler. I really enjoyed the match, but unfortunately just comes across as filler. This is MLW's weak point, including being burned by too many singles matches and feuds that are just disappearing, right? We got it with Wheeler Yuta. We got it with the Ricky Martinez thing. We got it with Jimmy Havoc and MJF. Like, a whole bunch of things just kind of get dropped out of nowhere. It's very WWE-esque, if you ask me. Makes it tough to get fully and truly invested sometimes. You know, it's just something I've noticed over the past couple months that's just kind of hitting now. Anyways, MJF is mad at the latest Von Erich signing. He does a little phone video promo. Lawler cuts a very good promo heading into his match with Avalanche from WXW, which is next week. His best promo of the year, in my opinion, making reference to climbing to the top of a mountain, where avalanches always fall in the end. It's good stuff. Brian Pillman Jr. defeats Rich Swann in the National Openweight semi-title match tournament. He goes face-to-face with Hammerstone in the finals. I really hated the finish of this match. Like, I get it. Rich Swann and Myron Reed are in the midst of this whole conspiracy thing, but it's been so slow going. The ref quick counts the 3 after Swann argues with them, so Pillman wins. Like, I get the story here, but Jesus Christ. Come on. It doesn't give credit to Pillman at all for winning in what's supposed to be a tournament for a new title. Like, you gotta make Pillman look more legit than like he got away with one because Swann's not interested. You could have easily had Rich Swann do this in a singles match early in the show with someone else, like a Minoru Tanaka, for example, but they wanted, I guess, a good wrestling match with no stakes, and then Pillman could have faced someone else, right? Anyways. And Austin Aries is coming to MLW. So your who's who of misfits are in MLW. It's pretty funny. Episode 59 starts with Holiday and Hammerstone talking money. They're going to get the big bucks when the new national title comes into the dynasty. Plus, Hammerstone says some genetic advantages is his thing and whatever. He is more and more coming across as a more PG version of Scott Steiner every day. I have the genetics, instead of genetic freak. I have the big muscles. I'm bigger and stronger than you because I'm Scott Steiner. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Alexander Hammerstone. Anyways. Barrington Hughes and Ace Romero versus Contra Unit. Match is over quick. And if you couldn't tell by the tone of my voice, when I said match, I put it in quotes. Because Contra still hasn't signed contracts with MLW, says Cornette. So, I guess anytime Contra appears, it's a non-sanctioned match. But then that doesn't make sense because Jacob Fatu faced off against Barrington Hughes and ended his winning streak. So then, if it's not actually a match, does the winning streak come to an end? Right? It's very flawed. Later, we get a backstage segment of Samael fireballing Phoenix, melting his mask to his face. And then while off camera, Pentagon gets his skull crushed into the floor. I guess that's it for the Lucha Bros. We had some really awkward backstage kind of I forget the backstage woman's name, but she kind of gave us a rundown. It was like, oh, they peeled Phoenix's mask off and flesh came off with it, and Pentagon's got like a severe concussion. We don't know if they'll ever come back, kind of deal. I think we got it with fire into the face, right? Anyways, I have to say as well is they've had the same MLW shows for like 2 months of tapings in the same arena in front of the same crowd. And this crowd is toast. Probably not the smartest idea by MLW to have like 10 episodes recorded in the same crowd for the same crowd. But anyways, it comes across fine as me because I'm just sitting at home on my couch watching YouTube, right? Because that's where you can find MLW for free. But damn, this crowd's dead. All right. Well, as Low Ki and Ricky Martinez are coming to the ring, a Contra unit symbol flashes on the screen. Promociones Dorado here jump a couple of jobbers basically, and as they're celebrating, Contra hits the ring again for the second time. Ricky and Zelina run icing Low Ki in the ring alone. I guess, A, we have our answer to Low Ki being done with Zelina. B, he about to die. And Low Ki does indeed get the shit kicked out of him. A very strange episode here, as the show is almost done, and there's been 2 squash beatdown matches and a shit ton of video promos. I could see people getting super irked here with this here show. A promo from the New Heart Foundation, H2, that's very forgettable. So forgettable that that's all I wrote in my notes. And then we have finally a match, an actual match. It's Tom Lawler, who's been hyping us up against Germany's #1 wrestler, Avalanche, Robert Dreisker. Not actually the case, by the way, but anyways, that's what MLW is saying for the title. The Get Ready promo has been going on for what seems like forever, at least 3 weeks. Entrances were slow, and the match was okay. Just okay. A small story here of Avalanche's brute strength and girth overtaking Tom Lawler, but alas, it's simple. A few tries of signature moves, reversed only to hit them later. You know, very simple stuff. I missed Vader Bomb by Avalanche. Lawler then hits a knee, gets the rear naked choke, win. And then Contra attacks for the 4th time in an hour, getting to Tom Lawler yet again, even though Tom Lawler has been cutting promos that Contra hasn't been getting the best of him. They don't do anything with him. Now this is like the second beatdown post those couple promos. Anyways, this show felt like a low 1-hour attempt at 1998 WCW. It really did. Contra looks very strong, yes, but we don't know anything about them or their characters or their motivations other than to cause simple chaos. Then that brings more questions to why MLW even allows them into the building, etc., etc. It's whatever. Very lackluster 2 episodes of MLW heading into Fury Road. Didn't really get me excited for Fury Road. I'm curious to see how the Hammerstone Brian Pillman Jr. match will go. And then after that, is LA Park cashing in his little golden ticket he won? I don't know. Anyways, moving on. Got a drop to play, and we'll get on to Uncharted territory right now.
Beyond Wrestling! Beyond Wrestling!
All right, boys and girls. Beyond Wrestling Uncharted territory, which you can find basically for free if you sign up at independentwrestling.tv and use any of the billion promo codes going around online. Whether it's use Black Label Pro, #Uncharted, MJF sucks, list goes on. You can use any number of them for a 20-day trial. Anyways, episode 8 of Uncharted Territory. I was there. I went to this show. And it was very fun. We have Solo Darling, taller than a stack of pancakes, leaner than a pint of ice cream, taking on the returning from injury Skylar, whom is a very pretty girl, and yet the crowd boos her profusely because Solo Darling is that damn over and actually has a character. So that tells you how over Solo Darling is. Skylar defeats Solo Darling via using the ropes, so she turns heel in this match. I don't know if that was like an on-the-match decision. So there you go. Not a happy way to start off Uncharted Territory, but the crowd was hot. Discovery Gauntlet match, Thomas Santel taking on Jackson Stone. And the Oval Teen Dream wins again. I think he's at 4-0 now. And I was... Or 5-0? I don't know. Oh, damn. I should be keeping track. We're going to get a Discovery Gauntlet Goldberg type streak going here. He's so fun to watch. His character is way over. This whole Marty McFly, awkward nerd thing. Crowd fucking loves Santel. I love Santel. It's just so much fun to see a guy who's been wrestling for like 19 years just finally get over, seemingly out of nowhere. He even has his own podcast, I believe, at Wrestling Observer Radio. Just talking about all things nerd, so it kind of goes with his character too. It's pretty fun. So he defeats Jackson Stone. Looking forward to more Santel as time goes on. Singles match, we get Nick Gage defeating Josh Briggs. This is where post-match Chuck O'Neil jumps the distraught-looking losing streak Briggs from behind. Make Beyond legit again of Chuck O'Neil continues. Important to note that Anthony Green saves his commentary buddy and lays out the challenge for Week 9 to take on Chuck O'Neil. So, the losing streak of Josh Briggs and playing off his big hip injury continues. Nick Gage, MDK all fucking day. He's way over. I don't know where they're going with Nick Gage, but he's a hardcore guy. He's way over with the crowd. Like, Jesus. I'm not a Nick Gage fan, but everyone else is. It's fine. Next match is Ophidian. We have a Chikara match. It's Ophidian, the King of Snakes, Egyptian god, against The Whisper, whom I was quite fond of a few weeks ago. I had fun, but on TV, it had to be annoying, as it was all just shh and sss the whole time. The crowd was just way into it, into their characters and what they're doing. Even Ophidian and Whisper were going back and forth, shushing and sissing at each other. It's pretty ridiculous. Whisper loses, Ophidian wins. Good match. Nice little 10-minute affair. It was good. It was a good little mid-card showing. Stories going along are very simple. But if we're seeing things like Ophidian and Whisper, you know, if we knew wins and losses mattered, then that could immediately just book itself, right? But we don't know that. We don't know what the future entails for, let's say, Ophidian, with and beyond. So I guess we'll see. We get a tag team match, which I thought came across as very meh. It was the Platinum Honeys of Angel Sinclair and Ava Everett defeating Milk Chocolate, Brandon Watts, and Randy Summers. Yes, that Brandon Watts, the one that kind of got iced from Beyond for a long time for faking the neck injury, the serious neck injury. Angel Sinclair can work. She can work a match. Ava Everett cannot. Yet Ava Everett was the hot tag where she gets in, throws a couple Lex Luger-like clotheslines, and that leads to their win. So Milk Chocolate is not going anywhere anytime fast. For those that don't know, the Platinum Honeys are the two chauffeur hot chicks that accompany Anthony Green, the retrosexual, to the ring. Now this next match, I wish was the main event. I really do, because this match is the best match on Uncharted territory to date. It is the best one. Is my favorite one too. There was no debate about it. That's Chris Dickinson and Eric Stevens. Might I add, Eric Stevens came out of a 9-year retirement period just to have this match. And fuck, this is hard hitting. It's really hard hitting. It is an awesome match. You feel it. This match was felt more real than anything I've ever seen in person before. The slaps were hard. The forearms were hard with the thuds. Eric Stevens was phenomenal out of this. This is a highly recommended affair. Chris Dickinson continuing his I want the hardest hitting, the baddest motherfuckers on the planet just continues, and it makes you like what also makes this more intriguing is this Chris Dickinson kind of open challenge per week thing and him like doing G1 on himself, levels of pain on a weekly basis. All getting ready for Daisuke Sekimoto is if he loses any of these, will he be ready for Daisuke? That's the story here. It's very simple, and it gets us across, and all these matches are just out of this world. They're very good. Eric Stevens, Dickinson, go watch this one. Go out of your way, episode 8. And then the main event, Bear Country, team of Bear Beefcake and Bear Bronson. I fucking love Bear Country. Look for my sign in the crowd of Beyond Wrestling is Bear Country. Uncharted Territory is Bear Country. Hashtag Uncharted Territory. They're taking on the rekindled bro tag team of Alex Reynolds and John Silver, the Beaver Boys. Alex Reynolds got back together with his bro because last week he realized, well, shit, I lost my singles match. I need my tag partner. After a fun 3.5 beers in for JD at the show, I had fun. Reynolds turns on Silver, leaving him high and dry. The Meat Man John Silver attempts to fight off the Big Bears, but to no avail. The Bears ate him alive. This valiant effort basically turned John Silver face. He is now a big baby face, and it worked. It totally worked, and I'm all for it. He's jacked, baby. He's the Meat Man. Hey, if we get John Silver, Alex Reynolds at like American Rana or a future Beyond Wrestling show, or it leads to a main event type match at a Uncharted Territory episode, let's fucking do it. That's it's a simple story. I don't know if I agree with breaking up the tag team Aces of Beyond, but I guess that goes to Bear Country now. So that was a really fun event to go to. And then it's on Wednesday night, so I have bowling, so I can't go to every week. So episode 9 was mostly filler, it felt like. So we get Nick Gage defeating Jay Freddy to open up the show. He does another Nick Gage-like promo. We get Thomas Santel defeating DL Hurst. So Santel is still going strong. Very happy to see that. Because the other reason why everyone is so into the Santel matches is if he loses, based on the Discovery Gauntlet rules, we won't see him anymore. Right? So the crowd never wants to see him lose. It's very exciting. I would have to imagine that however he loses, if he does, Thomas Santel, it's got to be by interference, and that leads to a singles match at a major show, and we keep seeing Santel, or he gets simply defeated, and Beyond Wrestling asks him to come back, regardless of losing the Discovery Gauntlet. Kind of like the whole Jay Freddy and Jay Freddy situation, right? He was seemingly in a random match, and now he's been on a lot more shows. Alley Cat defeats Davey-N, whom Skylar accompanied. Not much else to say there. Bear Country defeats To Infinity and Beyond. Not a fan of the team of Infinity and Beyond. That's Cheech and Colin Delaney. I've seen Colin Delaney a few times wrestle. I don't know. The match didn't mold well to me, but I'm still a big fan of Bear Country. VSK defeats Dorian Graves. There you go. Goes in the whole former tag team partners kind of deal. Chuck O'Neil defeats Anthony Green, which was the second best match on the show. Finally, something interesting, basically. Briggs on commentary here was utterly brilliant and felt real. He's rooting for his friend. He's being appalled and disgusted at Chuck O'Neil, even saving camera mishaps, which is really funny. So, at one point, Anthony Green goes for a top rope turnaround crossbody, or a springboard crossbody? Springboard crossbody. And it switches to the front ring camera, and the camera gets pointed right at the ground as the move is happening. And Briggs just goes, "Great crossbody, great camera work from our crew there." And Briggs swore a lot in this match. So that made it also feel real. He's just like, this fucking guy beat the shit out of Chuck O'Neil. Come on, Anthony. Fuck him up. Like, he's really making it come across like he wants to see his friend overcome this asshole, right? Well, Chuck O'Neil causes Anthony Green to tap out. Because as we know, Anthony Green never wins in Beyond Wrestling. But regardless, Chuck O'Neil doesn't break the hold. He was out to break his arm. Josh Briggs comes down, saves AG from that post-match beatdown. And next week for episode 10, we get Briggs versus O'Neil. Fuck yeah. And guess what, guys? I went to episode 10. There was no way I was missing that show. And that's for a number of reasons. And then we got our main event, which is another recommended Uncharted Territory match. Not as good as the Eric Stevens Dickinson match, but this is Dickinson against MLW champion Tom Lawler. Lawler comes out to New Kids on the Block, which was really funny, and they beat the hell out of each other. It was just a very stiff affair. Good match. Thanks, Echo. Yeah, it's okay. Guess it's losing internet connection. Anyways. Yeah, Dickinson and Lawler beat the hell out of each other. Dickinson defeats Lawler. Crowd wants Lawler to come back. Lawler's back for episode 10. Let's see what happens. I know what happens already, because I already went. So yeah, that was Uncharted Territory. Again, go check out the Dickinson-Eric Stevens match. Again, Chris Dickinson is just absolutely killing it right now. It's too good. At the end of the night, Dickinson calls out the walking weapon, Josh Alexander, who's working in Impact right now. He's finally back in the U.S. Very exciting. Dickinson is crushing it. If Orange Cassidy isn't the ace of Beyond right now, it's Dickinson and Chris Statlander. But we haven't seen Statlander in a number of weeks, and surprisingly, even though she's the champion, we haven't seen her on Uncharted Territory, the independent wrestling champion. Beyond Wrestling did get back to me. I did ask that question directly to them. And episode 11, she will be defending the title for the first time. Supposedly. Anyways. Let's get into more indie wrestling right away with this Stardom drop based on one of my new favorite wrestlers. There it is.
You blocked me on Facebook, and now you're going to die.
Alright, yeah, that is, that was Hana Kimura's entrance music. It's still got the whole, cyberpunk, disco beat to it. It doesn't say the block me on Facebook anymore, though. But anyways, I'm just going to keep it because it's too good. This is Stardom Gold at Korakuen Hall. Korakuen Hall. Toni Storm Challenge continues, where she takes on Kagetsu. Goes to a fantastic time limit draw. Pre-match, though, Toni Storm does the small promo referencing the fact that she doesn't lose anymore. Like ever. And there will be no more time limit draws. Time limit draws. Because no one's got time for time limit draws, but it's Tony time. Well, I like this match much more than the red belt match last summer where Kagetsu beat her. The technical work in this one felt smoother. The transitions were more forceful. I recommend this one. It was good. I'm kind of getting sick of the Toni Storm time limit draws, but the fact that she kind of referenced it, that you can tell that because she's in NXT UK that she can't lose ever. So it's kind of forcing Stardom's hand on this one, so I don't blame them. We have TCS, Tokyo Cyber Squad, versus Astazo for the artist titles. So this is our carryover from last podcast, where Hana Kimura calls out the Trios champions, the Hospital Girl, Mayu, want the Trios titles. 16 minutes and 48 seconds later, Hana, Jungle, and Konami defeat Tom, Saki, and Mayu. So I do love the fact that Hana Kimura said in her promo, the other team has that injured cripple, so it will be no problem. Well, she's a woman of her word. Because what happens is TCS attacks Mayu immediately, and then her tag team partners during their intros. So they get the jump on him. TCS isolate Mayu for a massive chunk of the match, and Konami gets a lot of 1v1 time in the ring. So a good sign for Konami, what's going to happen for her in the future. The knee selling of Mayu in this match is utterly brilliant. The Triangle Lancer is also 100%. New Artist Champs, TCS, baby. Saki taps out as she so deserves. Good match. I thought it could go about 4 minutes more, but I think with the limitations of what Mayu, the isolation of the injured star was a very good point in the match. And the fact Konami getting all this 1v1 time in the ring and her getting the submission win is a very good point for the future. It really puts over Konami as one of the strongest members of TCS going forward. Even though Hana Kimura is the faction leader, it almost seems like all three of the main members of TCS, Jungle Kyona, Konami, and Hana, are all on equal footing right now. It's very interesting. Post-match, Hana Kimura lays out the challenge to Oedo Tai to put... so she wants to put the Trios title on the line, and Oedo Tai needs to put their camo clothes up for grabs. Because it's interesting that Oedo Tai is all of a sudden wearing camo. The same time that TCS formed and wore camo of their own. So she doesn't want them doing that. Hana even throws out, shit, motherfuckers fucking Oedo Tai, while she says it with a big smile on her face. She's really testing the waters of what she can say and get over with saying. It's very funny. She's got so much character, it's quite something. And then we have the title match of B. Priestley versus Hazuki for the red belt. This match goes way shorter than I think I wanted. It only goes 8 minutes 58 seconds. But what saves this, because I thought about this more, is this felt like a high-speed title match more than, say, the red belt matches that we're more accustomed with seeing. You know, the 20, 25 minute, or even 15 to 20 minute rundowns that we've been conditioned to see over the last year. So even though it was fast and short, I think the speed of how many moves and transitions into different moves works. And it fits Hazuki's style really well that she's been sporting here in 2019. She's got her quick rolls, her quick transitions, her bit of high flying into her kicks. This is what Hazuki's been developing, I feel, and it's really working. And Bea Priestley getting the win just further makes herself look good. But why are we all here at Korakuen? Well, it's to see Momo Watanabe defend the white belt. You know, she's had her record-breaking run already, and she's just adding to it. And then we have the Cinderella champion Arisa Hoshiki taking her on. Well, what happened? Match didn't go very long. It only went 12 minutes, 57 seconds. So not only did the red belt go short, and I thought more time could have been with the artist title match, this one goes under 15 minutes as well, and there is a good reason for it. This wasn't good. Arisa defeats Momo in probably Momo's worst match in a full calendar year. In a full 12-month span, I cannot think of a worse Momo match than this. And it's mostly because of Arisa. Arisa was hot junk in this. I'm not messing around. Arisa had to be overly nervous or something, because everything she did either missed or looked awkward. All her kicks looked off-kilter. All her transitions were she just looked lost. Momo was trying to do her best to like keep her in a line, but Arisa wasn't standing in the right places. Just nothing was good. This was a choke fest. Very underwhelming and disappointing way to end Momo's historic record-breaking Wonder title run. Arisa needs to get her shit together, because if she's nervous now, it's only going to get tougher as she holds this title, right? Because it was Io Shirai, then it was Momo, now it's Arisa. She looked pretty good in the Cinderella tournament. I don't know if she was nervous, or the more 1v1 time she gets as a focus, and in a longer match, that she just doesn't get it, right? I don't know. I mean, she came back in October, and now we're in June, or late May in this case. Something's off here. I don't know what's going on with her, whether the schedule is getting to her now, or I don't know. I'm not in her head. I don't know the situation. All I know is I watched a pretty bad match. Arisa's new Wonder Champion, nothing we can do about it. So, I need to play a drop for the next show I'm going to talk about. And I don't have a particular drop for said promotion, so instead I'm going to play... I'm going to play a Travis Banks, just because. Alrighty, boys. And the reason why I played Travis Banks' music was simply because the rock music, and we're talking Dragon Gate. Oh my god. Here we go, guys. I'm so sorry, but the next shows I'm going to talk about here, I've been meeting... I should have covered this like 2 podcasts ago, but it's been crazy few weeks. But I'm finally able to cover Dragon Gate Dead or Alive 2019. So since last covering Dragon Gate, Yokosuka or Yokosuka defeats Dragon Kid to win the Brave Gate title on March 21st. So that's the note there. And the team of Big Ben lost the Twin Gate titles to Tribe Vanguard, which is the team of Kai and Yamato. So take that all into account and kind of just put together a simple, just, I beat this guy, I'm moving on to bigger, better things, or something's going to happen, right? So the team of Big Ben, to note, is the team of Big R, Shimizu, and Ben K, right? Members of Red, R-E-D. So anyways, moving on. This was a good show. And from, I contacted a few people I know watch Dragon Gate on a weekly basis, and they said the Dragon Gate house shows and the Road to Dead or Alive shows were so boring. Because the whole point of Dead or Alive is the Unit Bonds Steel Cage survival match that they build up every year, which I'll get to in a second. So the whole idea is to build your factions' trust within each other. So that's not a very deep premise to build all house shows around, and it didn't really build up the contenders very well. This is what was going on in the woodworks there. So anyways, first match I want to talk about here, I'm skipping most of the undercard, even though it is very enjoyable. It's still your typical Japanese undercard where it's makeshift tag and trios matches with a little bit of hinting at future things. But the big takeaways from this card was the Open to Bravegate title match of Yokotsuka, 40-year-old Susumu Yokotsuka versus my man U-T, U-T, who's 25. So tale of two generations here in Dragon Gate. Match goes 13 minutes and 16 seconds, and it's really, really good. I hoped it was longer, but with the main event being as long as it needs to go, this was fine. UT has completely changed his style. I fell in love with this guy when I started with Dragon Gate here in 2019. I looked back on some of his older matches. I'm like, it's not the same guy. His look and style have completely evolved into a wrestler you wouldn't even recognize, right? So here he is trying to prove that he wants the Bravegate title, their mid-card title. And then on the other hand, we have Susumu, who's 40 years old, a vet, and very solid in the ring overall. And what we got here was a valiant effort by UT, kicking out of everything he possibly can, but Susumu just beating the shit out of him, including a couple crazy top rope spots that could have ended very poorly. This was a very well-worked match. I was very impressed. If you're looking for a junior cruiserweight type match, and you want to see something way different than your typical Western style, or even what the juniors do in New Japan, this is something to seek out. Open the Dreamgate title match featured Pac versus former Bravegate champion Dragon Kid. Dragon Kid being even not a kid anymore. He's a veteran. Pac was so good in this match. Dragon Kid was no slouch himself, but I gotta talk about Pac here. When he comes to Dragon Gate, the crowd is way into him. Whether it's heat or not, they want to see Pac. He is a draw. Now I can clearly see why Dragon Gate is like, Pac, you're not dropping the title anytime soon. Like, you are crushing it. Pac feels like a main event star. He has a draw to him. Everything he's doing in the ring with the way he's working with all these guys, it's a big deal. Like, it's coming across as a guy who's carrying a promotion. And so, what in this 24 minutes, 58 seconds was how long this match was. Just under 25 minutes. And I swear I didn't think this match went over 16. And then I looked at the clock. I'm like, wow, that was good. That was well paced. It felt like a big deal. Pac retains the title, adding a key to his arsenal there. Yeah, go seek out this. It was really good. Unit Bonds Steel Cage Survival 5-way match. A 35-minute affair. 35 minutes, 20 seconds. Features Big R Shimizu, red. KZ, part of Natural Vibes, Naruki Doi. I hope I got the factions right in this. I wrote them down. Now it looks really wrong to me. Shun Skywalker, Dojo Mochizuki, Yamato, part of Dojo. No, okay. Big R Shimizu is red. I know that for sure. KZ's Natural Vibes. Shun is Dojo. Mochizuki, which is kind of not really a stable. Naruki Doi and Yamato, I might mess them up. So if you're listening, I apologize. I believe Yamato is part of Maximum and Naruki Doi is part of Tribe Vanguard. Anyways, this match has each faction of the promotion, each fields one member as their representative for the steel cage match. And there will be a set of flags at the top of the cage, and the fighter that doesn't capture a flag will be forced to choose a member of their unit to be kicked out. So once you reach the flag and grab it for your team, you are safe, right? A little stipulation here is, even if you do gain the flag, you have the optional right to choose a member to kick out. Okay? So whether they use this is now a privilege, and entirely up to their discretion. So that kind of goes with the whole units are encouraged to strengthen their bonds to ensure their representative doesn't exercise this option. This match was awful, terrible, and goofy, and I loved every minute of it. It was utterly what you would describe as crazy wrestling, and what wrestling can be. There were members of KZ's group with giant extended punching gloves trying to prevent guys from getting the flag. There was missed shots. There was at one point Ben K at the end climbs on the cage and moves the flag to the other side of the cage as he scales it for red to prevent Big R Shimizu from losing. There was water guns spraying guys, trying to get him off the cage. At one point, a member of, I believe it was Maximum, throws a 2x4 plank in between the cage corners so that they could use it as a platform. Big R Shimizu takes a massive knee at the end, like surely breaking his nose. It's 4 faces against Big R Shimizu. So it actually worked well to the extent that, yeah, everyone's out for themselves in their own group, but everybody wants to see Red lose. But he's the biggest dude, right? So he has some representation to it all. What else? There was the same spot as there was last... I watched the same thing last year. There was the same spot where one of the members of... I think it was Tribe Vanguard... gets a big elastic band, ties it to an opponent on the cage, runs all the way across the arena, and then lets it go, and it slaps the dude in the face, knocking him off the cage. Really funny stuff. It's so entertaining. What threw me off, though, was this is definitely a story thing I've missed. Is a couple dudes dressed as women characters interrupt each other. Because one gets to Shun Skywalker on top of the cage, kisses him, and he faints, like, on there, and then another guy comes who has something to do with that same character, and then kisses her out of the way, wakes up Shun gets the flag for his team. Yeah, lots of goofy stuff in the ring, and it makes total sense at all when you think about it. Like, why wouldn't members of your faction try to prevent other teams from getting the flag? Only you and trying to help your teammate without physically getting in the ring, of course. Climbing the cage and getting over, that must be the only stipulation to it all. So what happens in the end is Big R Shimizu does not get a flag. So then post-match, they go through all the motions, and it was a well-worked match in the ring when there was one-on-one. I think probably my favorite spot was the flower pelting Big R Shimizu in the faces. So he's bleeding with the broken nose, red, pun intended to his faction name, and then he's just ghostly powdered up. It's quite funny. So KZ keeps his team, Naruki Doi keeps his, Yamato keeps his, Shun Skywalker picks himself to leave Dojo Mochizuki on the point that he wants bigger and better things, and to move on from the group. Because let's face it, this group's not going anywhere. It's very apparent. And so he looks at his mentor Mochizuki, and I believe he faces him in the first round of a tournament coming up. And so they kind of lock heads, and Shun's kind of devastated with his own choice to leave the group, so I quite like that. And then the biggest turn for me of the night was I could have sworn Aita was going to get kicked out of Red, because it seems like Red is getting broken into two separate parts. It really reminds me of kind of the NWO infighting of the late WCW era with the whole NWO Wolfpack and Hollywood era. So you have Pac's Red, and then the rest are Red, right? And Aita's on the Pac side, and Aita is part of the whole reason why maybe not everyone's getting along. You can't truly blame Pac because he's not there all the time. So then maybe you could think to yourself, well, why wouldn't they pick Pac then? Because he's not really truly part of the group if he's not there all the time. Well, he's still the champion. They kind of want the power behind them, right? And to brag that their group has the champion. Well, what ends up happening is Shimizu chooses Ben-K and takes his head off, of all people. And I was shocked, and now I'm excited. Because that means now Ben-K can break out as a single star. And with him being one of the young up-and-comers in Dragon Gate, this is a great booking decision. I love it. He has now a feud going forward with his former faction, and Ben-K cuts a promo that makes sense where he looks at the fans, he goes, I don't expect you to cheer me right away, but I guess now I need to work on it. And Shimizu and Red, I'm coming for you, kind of deal. It's good stuff. Dragon Gate, Dead or Alive 2019, well worth it. It's one of Dragon Gate's best shows in a long, long time. It was very top level. All right. Oh, I get to play this drop finally. Yes. Oh, very excited. Yes, you heard the entrance of Bobby Guns, because now it's time to talk, finally, VXV, Westside Extreme Wrestling WXW. Their True Colors event has just happened, and I'm just going to throw in Road to True Colors as it goes on. There was a lot of, whenever story happens there, I'll just throw it into this event as I'm talking about it. Because there really wasn't much going on here. Aussie Open retained the tag titles versus JFK in a short 10-minute match. Not much else to say there. Very TV-esque, you might call it. Amal Winchester wins Triple Threat Part 2 over Killer Kelly and Valkyrie. At Road to True Colors, Valkyrie won the same Triple Threat match, and then Killer Kelly won another three-way in Leipzig. So it seems we have multiple contenders for Toni Storm's WXW title at Superstars of Wrestling, which is coming up very soon, if not this weekend as I'm recording. But I'm really enjoying the new talent being injected into this women's division right now. Killer Kelly is still a cornerstone of what WXW has built, and Toni Storm is still the champion, so we'll see if she keeps it at the next event. Whether she faces a couple of these women or all of them remains to be seen. But I'm really liking Amal Winchester and Valkyrie being part of this, and they're looking very good. I could see in the booking sense that this makes sense to have these multiple triple threat matches and have each person win once. That way they all have a stake to be the best woman on top right now, but no one looks better than the other, so it leaves a lot of speculation to it. Absolute Andy seems to be going through a midlife crisis of sorts since losing his title. He's pretending to be one of the cool kids with JFK, which is really fucking funny. And he's totally failing at it, too, in a hilarious way. He's using, like, outdated mannerisms, such as, like, a fist pound, and he's like, do you know the squid pound? And JFK's like, what? So they pound fists, and he makes the whole backing away with the hand as a squid. His phrases are just like, yo, man, what's up, chill, yeah, cool, bro. He's eating chili in the back. He's referencing catering being real good. It's like, have you had this chili? Everyone's referencing his big belly, and he's like, no, man, I'm just, this is how big guys are, right? It's great. He goads Lucky Kid into a match at True Colors, so that's what happens here. And the match was good. It goes 21 minutes, 34 seconds. big fan of the booking here at the end. The whole story kind of goes with whole Andy was 2018 16 karat champion. Lucky Kid's 2019 one, and Andy goes, you only won that because I wasn't in it. You know, I was the champion last year. 2018 16 karat was even harder than 2019, etc., etc. So Lucky's like, all right, he's got Lucky Kid in his mind has this whole Schadenfreude and Rise situation where he's the middleman. So he's kind of out to prove he doesn't need either group. So Andy definitely got one over on him in this one, promo-wise. And what ends up happening after a very good back-and-forth affair for the Euro style between the two guys, they're all hitting their signature moves well. Andy cheats, holding the ropes at the corner to pin Lucky Kid. So I'm definitely looking forward more to this program. Lucky Kid does not come off looking weak in this, because he did just come off multiple wins and 16 karat win, and Andy needed a good win here to maintain kind of as one of the top guys of WXW. And him cheating makes everyone think that, yeah, the win was nonsense, but Andy cheating and winning is nothing new, as we learned our lesson of all of 2018. So there you go. Then we have a triple threat main event match for the WXW Unified title, featuring Bobby Guns defending against Ilya Dragunov and Marius Al-Ani. So the story here, in the build-up to True Colors, was during Road to True Colors, Al-Ani and Dragunov keep irritating each other to the point where Al-Ani interfered in Dragunov's triple threat match he was booked for, versus Fight Mueller and MLW / Beyond Wrestling's Wheeler Yuta. So Al-Ani cost him the match. Fight Mueller wins that, by the way. Later that night, Al-Ani is going against Bobby Guns for the WXW title. And that's because Al-Ani was the one who took Bobby Guns' shotgun title away. So Bobby Guns couldn't beat Al-Ani. So Dragunov just comes down, straight DQs the match in anger. Kind of not a good way to end a Road to event in a main event. However, a good beatdown occurs, Guns gets on the mic, and he's not a happy champion. Dubs, because Al-Ani took his title away from him, the shotgun title, and he never beat Dragunov last year, making reference to their late fall rivalry, he wants a match at True Colors to be a three-way dance. He wants both these guys, because he thinks they got some shit to work out. I got shit to work out now with both of you. I'm a fighting champion. We're doing it this way. So I love this. I loved how that was that went down. It all makes sense to me. Al-Ani in this triple threat match was my MVP easily at this thing. This dude was everywhere. His cardio is now maintaining through entire matches. If you recall last year when I was watching Al-Ani matches, he seemed to get gassed really early on in matches, right? He would look really good at the beginning, and then as the match would go on, he wasn't able to execute, the ninja moves, right? He isn't gassing out early anymore like he used to. His game has really stepped up. His character's now the Baudet, which is really cool. He's got, he's probably the most in shape guy in all of WXW, next to Dragunov, let's say. Dragunov and Guns brought their usual fire, didn't disappoint either. Just Al-Ani just looked that much better. He looked like a main event player going forward, which I'm all for. WXW needs to build new stars since all their top stars are being poached, right? Walter's in NXT UK. Dieter Jr.'s in NXT UK. Dragunov's leaving also to NXT UK. Axel Tischer and Tommy End aren't going to be back anytime soon. So they got to build these stars, and they can't just borrow stars from other promotions all the time, like Progress, because they're losing their stars too. So everyone's got to rebuild. So I'm all for this. Also, the Mitteldeutschland Cup happened, Middle Germany Cup. So Al-Ani won that. So think of like a mid-card King of the Ring, I guess. Dragunov got in his face. They talked some more smack to each other. and now they're having a match at Superstars of Wrestling. I have to imagine Marius Al-Ani is going to get one over on Ilya Dragunov. Dragunov puts Al-Ani over, cementing a main event caliber status as Dragunov goes off to other things. And I'm actually okay with Dragunov leaving at this point for a while, because he's been in the main event so much since his return in 2018. So for a full year, he was in the main event, right? In one way or another, he had his title run, then he had his feud with Andy, then the cage match in January, and now he's fizzling out because he's getting a little bit. We're getting a little bit overexposed to him at that level. You know, there needs to be other guys being pushed to the top. So with Bobby Guns, Lucky Kid, Andy still there, Al-Ani hopefully getting there. Hey, that's not a bad 4 guys to build around if you can keep it going, which is great because all 4 of those guys were your mid-card champions in 2017 and 18. So the mid-card stepping up to get to the main event, that's great. And now you can rebuild your mid-card again with guys like Fight Mueller and Julian Pace and the revamped Emil Satoshi. So it's pretty cool. I quite like what's going on. Now, is True Colors something to go out of your way to watch in full? No. I would say if you want to see Andy and Lucky Kid, if you're, I would say if you're a hardcore like myself and you really like the characters, then go see that match and then the main event triple threat match. So now we're moving on to Progress Super Strong Style 16. And what would plain Progress be without referencing the men of the past, and that's British Strong Style. Alright, Super Strong Style 16, the long 3-day knockout tournament event with some main events put in there in between. Progress Wrestling put on 3 really good shows. This was great. I think main event wise, Super Strong Style 16 had the better matches with Jimmy Havoc and company and Walter Trent 7, which we'll get to. But I think as a tournament, I liked the run of Lucky Kid in 16 Karat more. The star power is just as good. I think the matches were just as good. Perhaps from a performance-wise, Jordan Devlin was the best out of those two tournaments. If I was comparing just not so much who they beat to get to where they got, but the level of wrestling that they showed. Day 1 was simply all the first-round matches. NXT superstar Trevor Lee is a total tool, and it was amazing. He was here. He would cut the most tool-like promos, and he was definitely a highlight of the tournament, just from his character work. Artemis Spencer came from Canada. He's your extreme Canadian wrestling? No, Elite Canadian Wrestling, ECW over in British Columbia. He had a good showing. It's nice to see Artemis Spencer getting his name out there. He's pretty much the ace wrestler of Canada, next to Josh Alexander. Spencer's much more, I think, charismatic. But anyways, takeaway match of the first round was definitely Kyle O'Reilly versus Chris Ridgway. What went 19 minutes, 19 seconds. I love O'Reilly's leg lock heel hook combo, where as soon as he gets it in, people immediately would tap out. And this match was hard AF to go with Chris Ridgway's character. Day 2 was awesome. It was my favorite day. Super Strong Style 16 Tournament 2019 quarterfinal match. Jordan Devlin defeats Kyle Fletcher with Mark Davis ringside. 13 minutes, 9 second match. Awesome finish as Devlin headbutts Fletcher and he just falls on him, for the pin, hinting that they were both knocked out. Great stuff. Kyle Fletcher, I was really hesitant going into this tournament, but his 2 matches were way above his pay level, you might say. I haven't seen him perform this well outside of a tag match. I haven't seen him perform this well in a singles match since his Jay White match last year, and that was mostly Jay White. So yeah, Jordan Devlin wins, moves on. Another quarterfinal match, we saw David Starr and Travis Banks. This was just interesting from a booking perspective. As we know, Travis Banks returned. David Starr was facing against Dragunov, and he interfered, so there's a lot of continuity there. This leads to a brawl and a double countout that lasted 13 minutes and 40 seconds. However, the match is restarted, and how did it go again? I wrote down double countout, but they both couldn't get up for a 10 count, then it was restarted, and then they brawled out for a double countout. Okay, let's go with that. It was fun booking. So Smallman gets on the mic and he goes, no, this is a knockout tournament. We can't have a draw, so it's not Stardom level, where the guy just gets a bye in the next round, which I'd be okay with, because then you could have a David Starr Banks like no DQ match or something. But instead, Smallman goes, this is a knockout tournament. We have to have a winner. What's going to happen is on day 3, we get a triple threat match with Dragunov, because he won his match, and that's how the bracket would book. So, it's interesting. I did like this booking, as much as it kind of doesn't make sense. But to me, it made sense with all the stories that were built between the 3 guys, and the aspect of we don't let guys get simple buys. All right. And then the main event was Walter defending against Trent Seven. Title versus title unification match. And we get Walter defeating Trent Seven after 25 minutes and 44 seconds. Trent Seven, I haven't seen him have a singles match of this caliber and a high level in a long time, since probably his ICW title run, where I saw him face against Joe Coffey and Pete Dunne and the like. This was really good. We essentially see Walter turn heel to the crowd, because further gets a nice little storyline that that once you get your hands on the Progress title and maybe you defend it once or twice, it poisons you. I don't know if that's on purpose booking, but it sure seems that way, because for a long time now, if you hold that title, you're turning heel kind of situation. You get obsessed with it. We saw it with Banks, and now we're seeing it with Walter. The crowd wanted Trent Seven to win this so bad. At the end, when there's a ref bump, Walter looks around at the crowd. He's about to get a weapon, use the title, and you just hear the crowd going, the Progress moniker, "Don't be a dick." They're just, "Don't be a dick, don't be a dick." What does Walter do? He bees a dick. Good stuff indeed. Trent Seven, valiant effort comeback, but nonetheless, we get Walter choking him out, and as the ref is checking the arm for the 3 drops, ref decision's over, Trent Seven gets his foot on the rope, but the ref doesn't see it and counts 7 out by decision. And then Walter kind of as the celebration's going on, the ref is going to get the title. Walter positions the ref, turns his back to Seven, doesn't see the weapons involved. Walter used some sort of, they weren't brass knuckles, but it was not a sock of pennies either, but it was this rubber thing that goes on his hand. He meant to put it in Trent Seven's pants, but it drops out, or meant to put it in his own pants, but drops out onto the ground. So the way he tricked the ref to getting over that spot was to put Seven on top of him. The ref counts 3, and then Walter reverses that into the choke. So that's how we got to that point. So Walter's positioning the ref, and he's kind of looking over his shoulder, and as the ref is more distracted by other means, Walter kicks Seven's foot off the rope and picks up the foreign object. So all the crowd seeing this, Walter doesn't give a shit. He maintained his title. So just like his turn in OTT, he's now doing it in Progress. So whether that's Seven gets a second chance at the belt down the future, or be it someone else to take it off Walter. It's a very good story, a very good heel turn in natural ring telling fashion. Just utterly brilliant. And Walter, this is why I like Walter so much. He's such a simple wrestler, it's so safe, and what he does in the ring, whether it's booking like this, where it's position guys, a turning heel or face, or being the big Bruiser Brody type character, Dick the Bruiser, more like Dick the Bruiser, I guess. It's also smooth and functions in the way of just old school NWA type booking. It's quite good. It's a little more thought process behind it, instead of just a wacky finish or anything. Day 3 of the tournament, semi-final 3-way match. David Starr defeats Dragunov and Banks, and what this ended up being was an elimination match, not a triple threat match, because you have to eliminate everybody. So I quite like that extra booking. And Jim Smallman made point that during the introduction that if TK Cooper gets involved in Travis Banks, DQs will count towards eliminations. So that was good. That led to a nice, clean 3-way elimination match. Travis Banks first pins Dragunov at 8 minutes and 45 seconds. And then about a minute later, David Starr pins Travis Banks. Just big ovation from the crowd. A short match for this kind of elimination match, but hey, they got a lot more work to do during the event. Kind of makes you wonder if they should have done this in round 1 and add this to be a longer match on day 2, right? That way they could have gone at least 15 or 20. Just a thought. Highly recommended match. My favorite singles match of the tournament easily was Jordan Devlin taking on Kyle O'Reilly. This one went 17 minutes 58 seconds. Devlin and O'Reilly just put on a clinic. O'Reilly with his technical maneuvers and his little Muay Thai type thing. He's so unique in the ring. I really miss him in the Boss J tournaments and what he did in Ring of Honor. Him being secluded to basically a tag team role in NXT. There's just not enough time for us to see him wrestle like this. So, and then Devlin is just so great in the ring. He's right on top of his game. He improved so much in 2018, and he's only getting better here in 2019. This was fantastic. O'Reilly working the knee like a champ, and Devlin selling the piss out of it. Doing very well with all that. It all functioned to the longer story of you got a title tournament to win. Jordan Devlin's not a title tournament. You got a tournament to win for the right to get a title shot. But you can't lose in this round, so you just have to, if a guy's got you in the hold, your choice is either pass out or not tap out, right? And that played through. So the next match, Jordan Devlin does win. The next match was Jimmy Havoc's last match in Progress, and he almost died. He faced against Paul Robinson, Will Ospreay's best friend, former partner. Goes along with a lot of the story here. Just an insane amount of blood from Havoc. They just went to town, beating the shit out of each other. Light tube spots, just galore, thumbtacks, chair shots. So much blood from Havoc. He had to be taken to the hospital post-match for a big checkup. He lost he had to have lost a couple pints of blood. There was so much blood, it was even in the microphone that Jim Smallman pointed out to us on camera. Paul Robinson defeats him, so Jimmy Havoc goes out on his back after 17 minutes. Yeah, if you're afraid of blood, you're not gonna like this match, but I don't like death matches myself, but Jimmy Havoc just does it well, and Paul Robinson's a dick. So the dynamics there. If the dynamic works and you got a very charismatic guy involved, I mean, this is why ECW was so popular in its day, was you had these characters that could pull off hardcore environments, right? Progress Tag Title match with the team of Aussie Open defending against Aerostar and Daga. I don't know why they're a tag team, other than they're a couple luchadors from AAA. They formed because I guess they were both knocked out in the first round. But anyways, Aussie Open expectedly win after 13 minutes and 8 seconds. The match was fine. Got no problem with it. It was just, I don't know, I probably would have had this on a different point in the card, I guess. Then we had the Progress Women's title Fatal 4-Way match, which is very synonymous with Strong Style 16 these days. Jordan Grace versus Session Moth Martina, Millie McKenzie, and Nina Samuels. So basically, Jordan Grace against NXT UK, or at least Martina has her tryout going on, and Millie McKenzie isn't even really there. Anyways, Jordan Grace, to me, unexpectedly wins. I thought the story was they were building Nina Samuels as the next champion, considering the defection from House of Couture and her winning all these matches, and after 8 minutes and 46 seconds, Jordan Grace is a heel, and she can't believe she wasted her time coming all the way to England to do this match. It was a good little promo. She's proven it. Will Grace hold this title through the summer for an eventual big opponent? Like, I don't know, a Meiko Satomura down the road? We'll see. And then we get our final main event, our finals match of the Super Strong Style 16 tournament. It's David Starr versus Jordan Devlin. Second best match of the tournament by far. I still like the Devlin O'Reilly one more. Regardless, Devlin sells his knee in very much continuity, especially considering he just had an 18-minute affair earlier that night. David Starr was in a triple threat match and only went barely, not even 10 minutes. So Jordan Devlin really impressed me. I mean, he always impresses me, but this was his night. He wrestled for over 40 minutes tonight. Got David Starr over. David Starr winning in the face on it. He made Devlin tap out. So David Starr v. Walter, and then possibly Devlin down the road. Like, there's a bunch of stories there in itself through cross promotions. Good stuff. Progress continues to be one of the top promotions to watch in the world. They consistently put on good matches, and it's not overly booked. Fantastic stuff. So their next show after Strong Style 16 here is the comedy show where they go back in time and dress as different characters. I won't be covering that chapter in particular. I'll skip over that one. I mentioned it last year when I covered it on the podcast. I was like, this is weird. So I'm just going to skip that one since it's not really canon with the Progress storyline, and we'll just move on from there, won't we, guys? Time for Boss J. I do not have a Will Ospreay drop. I should make one. So I'm just going to have to play Naito's drop. No, Marty Scurll was in it. I'll do that one. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. New Japan Best of the Super Juniors has continued. If you remember from our last podcast, we discussed days 1 through 6. Now we're doing 7 through 14. I have 13 written down on my agenda, but that is incorrect. So this is May 22nd through June 1st. So this is up till the Boss J Finals and Dominion. And I'm just going to run through my favorite matches throughout the days. I'm not covering the whole cards. Otherwise, we'd be here forever. That's an entire 2-hour podcast in itself. Anyways, Day 7, we got Shingo defeating Marty Scurll in 14 minutes, 7 seconds. I loved the Brody King interference to really get me thinking Shingo could lose. And then ELP, El Phantasmo, defeats Will Ospreay in a 26-minute, 40-second match. So it almost goes to that 30-minute time limit draw. A fantastic character-worked match with non-stop back and forth. This is one of my favorite matches of the tournament, and I will go over my favorite matches of the tournament as a whole. The moves these two did were filled with so much fire. Only thing held it back for me was near the end, ELP attempted a low blow in front of the ref that would have cost them the match. That was dumb. Those maneuvers never make sense to me, whether they know they would be disqualified and the face would win, right? Or the other guy would win. So why would Ospreay block it, right? Unless his back was turned to the ref. In this case it was, but still, to me, as a wrestling fan, if you know the ref is up and he's not distracted, why wouldn't you just take the low blow and get the win, especially in a tournament, right? Like, that was an old baseball trick of mine. And basketball trick. Like, if you know you're going to take the charge or get hit with the ball from the pitcher, just take it for the team. Guy gets a foul on him, and you get a free base kind of deal. Anyways. My favorite spot was the ELP moonsault off the entranceway into the stands. So they're in Korakuen Hall, and there's that kind of entryway that you see in stadiums, and he just goes off from the top over the stairs. Very awesome. See Io Shirai used to do it all the time too. Even how the match started with Ospreay drop kicking ELP out of the ring, throwing him into chairs, and then throwing a chair on him was a great way to set the match off. Like, they got that really sets the Ospreay versus Bullet Club rivalry. You know, we get the Stormbreaker. ELP kicks the ref while in the Stormbreaker, low blow, hits a few signature moves to finish off Ospreay. Ospreay loses. So at this point in Day 7, ELP is undefeated. Ospreay's got now 1 loss to his record. Now he needs to come from behind. Meanwhile, Shingo is on the other side with Dragon Lee and Ishimori in their 3-way neck-and-neck race for Block A. Day 8, favorite matches was Will Ospreay against Bandito. Fucking 5 stars. Just simply unbelievably worked match. I liked this one even better than the WrestleCon match from April that I covered. That also was a 5-star match. No money was thrown in the ring in this one, but yeah, if you want 2 high flyers just going at it for 18 minutes and 3 seconds, like, don't look any further than Ospreay Bandito. I think this could have been over 5 stars if you're going by the Wrestling Observer radio scale. If Bandito had more wins to this point, because at this one it was Ospreay's 6 points to Bandito's 4. Yeah, they're close. Ospreay's coming off a loss the day before, but Bandito hadn't beat anyone big yet, and that was the theme with Bandito matches that I had a little bit of a problem with. Just from the kind of believing he would win perspective. I had a very similar issue with Teton in Block A. Like, the luchadors just don't win in these tournaments. The exception, of course, is Dragon Lee, whom is the junior heavyweight champion, so they have to book their champion strong. They can't just have him go 4 points, right? Well, anyways, Day 8 also saw Shingo Takagi taking on Dragon Lee, which is almost a 5-star match, basically. It went 17 minutes, 20 seconds, which I think was too short. They should have gone at least 20. This would have been a 5-star match if they broke that magic 20-minute barrier. So Dragon Lee Dragon Lee loses to Shingo, and this was Shingo's first major stepping stone, right? I didn't think after Show he was going to lose to anybody else unless it was Dragon Lee or Taiji Ishimori. And I said on the last podcast, Shingo Takagi's going undefeated in this thing, right? And he's going to beat Will Ospreay in the finals. That's what I said. Could it also be El Phantasmo? Sure, but I was pretty convinced it was going to be Shingo against Ospreay. So I thought I think Shingo is going to go all the way to the finals. Anyways, great match. Dragon Lee, great worker. He's still channeling his Shibata throughout all these matches, and Shingo is a fucking stud, man. He's just murdering these juniors. When he hits a clothesline, his pumping bomber, and any sort of power maneuver, because he's so thick, right? It just looks like he kills him. It's no joke, right? And it's just so good. And he's one of the best workers in the world. I have Shingo up there with Okada and Kento Miyahara, AJ Styles, those guys, as among the best workers in the industry. Day 9, the only match I really took away was the Rocky Romero El Phantasmo match. Rocky Romero was at 4, El Phantasmo was at 8 points, so Phantasmo is way ahead in Block B at this point. Rocky Romero, he's holding his own, he's putting in great matches, but is he going to win? That kind of deal? Well, he defeats ELP in a 28-minute, 38-second match. It almost goes 30 minutes to that draw. Sneaky style defeats the cockiness of ELP, and you felt it really big in this match. I think that's what made this story work out, was ELP knows he's winning Block B. He's facing off against this old veteran who might not have it anymore kind of situation. He's a loser on top of it. His best days are behind him. And he's very familiar with him in Rev Pro, right? Well, his cockiness bit him in the ass, because Rocky Romero even does like the Eddie Guerrero spot to ELP, tries to roll him up. Rocky Romero does, in the end, get the better of him. One of the best matches of the tournament. Very good. It definitely eclipsed that 20-minute Magic Zone, and that's what also put it over with me. Day 10 was the strangest of all the days. It really stood out. Yo defeats ELP next, which is quite something. Ishimori defeats Sho, so the Roppongi 3K guys are just continuing to kill it in the ring, even though they're not winning all the time. But Yo defeats ELP, I just didn't understand. I just didn't really get it. I don't know whether that was playing off some story I just didn't see, like ELP just couldn't believe he lost to Rocky Romero of all guys, but the only thing I could think of was because they're all in Revolution Pro together. Like, Roppongi 3K goes to Rev Pro a lot. And ELP, would either wrestle with them or be against them a lot, especially in the Rev Pro Junior tournament that happened last year, that ELP won. So Yo ends up beating him. He's very over with the crowd. With Taguchi's win over Narita here, he moves to 10 points, tied at the top of the block with ELP. So Will Ospreay is up against Robbie Eagles then. And I love this match because now this is the opportunity for Ospreay to go ahead, right? But what ends up happening is Robbie Eagles is also part of Bullet Club. And there's the confliction and rivalry between these two in this match. Eagles wants to, win the tournament and be, the bad guy kind of situation. But Ospreay's like, no, man, you're my friend. Why would you betray Chaos like that? Really good moments here. It really reminds me of that whole, the whole Ospreay Rocky Romero one where, they're all part of the same stable. Romero's going to prove he doesn't need sneaky style to win, but, that kind of goes flash forward to his match against ELP, and he's like, fuck it. This guy's a bad guy. I'll pull out all the stops too. I won't let him cheat me if I can just get him back. Well, great leg targeting from Eagles. He really stepped up his game in this tournament. This was easily his best match, I feel. I even liked ELP coming out to support his Bullet Club stalemate, but also to make a mark for his own benefit, right? ELP lost his match. He's blowing his block lead, right? Now he's got a stablemate facing off against Ospreay, the guy who's gunning for the block win, right? This match felt like a draw was imminent until ELP stepped in, because the match goes 28 minutes and 1 second, right? With less than 3 minutes left, the ref gets knocked down. Ospreay goes for the Oz Cutter, only be clocked on the knee with a chair from ELP. Though conflicted, Eagles takes advantage. He 450s specifically the knee, very good touch. Locks in the Ron Miller special, which is a kind of a Indian deathlock, but instead of on your stomach, you're on your back. And Ospreay taps out. So his knee was worked in multiple matches. Eagles targeted the knee, the chair shot. Ospreay has to tap. So if Ospreay, like, this loss made so much sense, and more sense than the ELP loss to Yo. So I thought if ELP was going to lose to anyone else, it should have been someone of more note, but it definitely gets the Roppongi 3 guys over more as singles wrestlers. Just like Sho in Block B, or Block A, having fantastic showings at the start of this tournament against Shingo and Dragon Lee and Ishimori. You know, Sho just showed up to the game, right? Day 11, skip it. I didn't really like it. Nothing of really note. A lot of filler matches. Day 12 gets even more interesting than the block. Yo defeats Narita. Now he's at 10 points. Bandito defeats Eagles. So now Eagles is stuck at 10 points. So now we have Yo. This is all Block B. Yo, Eagles, ELP, Ospreay, and Taguchi all at 10 points. We got a 5-way tie. Bushi defeats Rocky, so now he gets the 10 points. Now we have a 6-way tie. And then finally we get the last bit. Ospreay defeats Doki. So, just a fun note. Taichi has been involved in all of Doki's matches, and he only has 2 points to show for it, so Taichi's worthless in helping people, I guess. But Ospreay was able to get a really good match out of Doki, 16 minutes, 17 seconds. So that puts Ospreay on top of the block. So even though he technically had to come from behind, it was really that one booking of ELP losing to Yo that cost him the block, right? So then we have the main event of Taguchi against El Phantasmo. So whomever wins this match, goes on, right, to win. So if Phantasmo beats Taguchi, he wins via tiebreaker because he already beat Ospreay. If Taguchi wins, then they haven't faced each other yet because that's the last day. So you can book this number 2 ways, because then ELP only has to maintain, he just has to win the final, and then either Ospreay or Taguchi has to win. But if Ospreay and Taguchi like trade a win, then ELP still owns the tiebreaker to win Block B. So there's still that very come from behind element. Ospreay has to rely on someone else getting a win. I believe it was a similar situation last year with Hiromu and Ishimori. Yeah. So Taguchi defeats ELP in a 20-minute, 18-second match. This match in particular gave me big nostalgia vibes in the remembrance of the whole Taguchi versus Prince Devitt of the past, right? And I love those matches. Taguchi owns the tiebreaker with a win over ELP, so Ospreay must now win on the last day, or else Taguchi wins the block. So if they go to a 30-minute draw, and even though they tie in points, Taguchi owns the tiebreaker over ELP. So that gives you stakes for Ospreay in a must-win situation, right? I mean, it's still must-win overall, but the tie, if they tie, that's the whole thing. It's the whole soccer football situation. Day 13, Dragon Lee versus Marty Scurll. I think this was Marty Scurll's best match of the tournament. 16 minutes, 12 seconds. And then Shingo Takagi defeats Taiji Ishimori. That came down the last day. They're both at, Shingo was at 16. Taiji was at 14. If Taiji beats him, he owns the tiebreaker over him when they both would tie at 16. And so Ishimori would have won the block, so that was set up well. They went to 20 minutes, 51 seconds. Shingo goes undefeated, as I predicted. Just bask in my prediction glory. I was just hoping Shingo was going to murder all the juniors and go undefeated. So, day 14 comes down to Taguchi and Will Ospreay having just a high-stakes match. Ospreay wins and couldn't be happier. He cuts just a fantastic promo saying this is the worst year of his life. There's a lot of depression he's going through. Shingo even cuts a promo in English. He just goes, "Hey Ospreay, good match. You a really good fighter." Really kind of broken. And Ospreay is just like he says in Japanese, "All of what you said, I don't understand." Ospreay says he's doing it for us all. He's gonna slay the dragon. All good stuff. Very excited to see the Boss J finals of Ospreay and Shingo. I'm definitely sticking with my whole prediction of Shingo goes undefeated and moves on to Dragon Lee. But when you think about it, we did see the Shingo Dragon Lee match already in the Boss J tournament. So to get a repeat match at Dominion would seem odd to me. However, we did just see Okada Sonata go at each other twice, despite Sonata losing in the New Japan Cup final to Okada. So anything could happen. I'd be okay with either result of Shingo and Ospreay. So that was basically the big crux of the Best of Super Juniors. Long tournament. Lots and lots of matches. Never watched more in my life. And my top matches are, I think my favorite match of the tournament was definitely Shingo versus Sho still from day one. It held up in my mind. Second match would be Shingo Takagi versus Dragon Lee. Then it would be simply the journey of Will Ospreay and all his matches together. They were all in that same caliber, right? Probably my favorite Will Ospreay match was against Robbie Eagles, because of what that all entailed. And then I'd put Shingo against Ishimori on the last day, followed by Ospreay and Taguchi. So those are my favorite ones. Ooh! It's time for AEW Double or Nothing. But what drop should I play? Oh no. Oh no. What do I do, boys and girls? I'm at a crossroads here. Oh, here's one I could play. I'll do this.
You just made the list!
Yes. You just made the list. Why would I not do that, right? That's funny. Oh, boy. Oh, just taking a quick breather here as we all take it in. Oh, whoops. These are the wrong timestamps I'm marking down. There we go. Let's drink some water. Clear my nose. AEW. Double or Nothing. What an incredible show. You know, we're all curious what AEW was going to pump out. This was their big first showing as a promotion. You know, All In was a monumental event for what it meant. This was supposed to be the taste, right, of what AEW is going to bring in come fall. So, the Pat Kane Man Page match turned out to not take place due to booking indiscretions on the fact that Pac is still Dragon Gate champion and he can't lose. So in a promotion where wins and losses matter, he needs to lose. So that the whole Pac storyline is definitely on hold. From my understanding, there isn't animosity between AEW and Pac. It's just it's really that NWA cross-regional promotion thing of the past where, you know, if you're gonna trade talent or have talent from other places, you can't make them look weak in any way in your promotion, because then that puts the other one over badly. So Pac wasn't, he's being very loyal to Dragon Gate and wanting the title to look legit. So, but they were able to have a match in WrestleGate. That's free on All Elite's YouTube channel, and they have a good match, ending with Pac DQing on Hangman, low blows, and then chair shots the knee, gets on the mic, says, "I only came here to injure you, Hangman Page, and now I've done it. I'm not showing up in Vegas." He's out. So I'm like, okay, I like that story. You know, it works, it fits. Now, how is AEW going to combat losing one of their big money matches and utilizing Hangman Page going forward? It was a good question going into this. Well, the first hour is called the buy-in. We get the Casino Battle Royal, where all the contestants pick cards out of a deck, and whatever suit that you get, you come in groups of 5. So hearts, spades, clubs, diamonds, and 5 people start in the ring. So it was a fun match. I definitely had fun watching it. There was a lot of questions I was bringing up. You have the commentary of Alex Marvez, whom is going to be the big stats guy, right? So he's got to get used to the commentary role, and then he'll accumulate stats and bring him up on commentary going forward. So I'm going to give him time, in my opinion. The returning Jim Ross to commentary, the get over guy, basically, and then you have color commentary, which is Excalibur, so guy with a mask, because he's in bar wrestling and PWG, I believe. That's his character. I don't mind the mask so much. I've seen a lot of people get angry that we don't get this guy's gimmick on commentary. You would think so, but hey, AEW is being different. I like it. I don't have a problem with it. I thought commentary was really good all night. There was a couple moments where they're kind of missing cues, or not sure about production or where we're going. That's all a learning experience, right? So back to the Battle Royal. One thing I thought commentary could have done a much better job was to they should know everybody in it and maybe give us a little background over some characters in the ring. Like, you don't need to give us any background over Tommy Dreamer, but if we're going to see more of guys like Orange Cassidy, whom had his funny Orange Cassidy spot in it where he's throwing the softest chops and punches on Tommy Dreamer, give us a little bit more about that guy. Simply say his gimmick, oh, he's too cool to care about throwing actual punches, right? That kind of stuff. Put over Jungle Boy. He's going to be very good going forward. He's one of their top guys. Talk about him, how he's the son of Luke Perry, or Luke Perry, Jesus. Wait, yes? Luke Perry? Oh no, I think he is. Anyways. Guys like Jimmy Havoc, MJF, like all these guys that are going to be big players going forward. You can kind of give the audience a more understanding of who these certain guys are, and then the real undercard guys that you need to build up more and more and put them over. You can kind of just say their name, and then I think in this day and age you can rely on people Google searching some of these guys if they stick out. Regardless, it was really fun. Hangman Page comes out with Lucky Number 21. He gets his music hit. So with characters coming out in the Battle Royal with the suits, there was definitely a little confusion I felt watching it, because there's no music. They just kind of announce that it's the Hearts coming out, right? And and the 5 guys who drew the heart, they just walk out. I'm not sure what better way this could be presented, because this being the first one, and AEW wants this to be one of their marquee events or marquee matches, there's got to be a way to highlight people coming out in a more singular manner, even though they're coming out in groups of 5. They had their 2 tunnel entranceways, kind of the heel and face. Maybe you could have like whoever draws a lower number comes out before, and then you have and then every 10 seconds the next guy comes out. So you have the music hit, the guy come out, music hit, guy come out. That might be a little too chaotic. I don't know. It's definitely something to work on. Then we have the Kip Sabian Sammy Guevara match. My boy Sammy from Katy, Texas. They build him as from Houston because I guess no one's going to say the suburb, right? Even though it's a very large suburb with like 100,000 people there. Anyways, they have like your 205 Live Cruiserweight pre-show match. Kip Sabian's really impressive. Sammy Guevara is going to like fucking die in the ring. He did a shooting star press from the apron as Sabian was perched over the barricade. Nuts. It's almost like the RVD spinning leg drop spot, but this time with a shooting star press. I mean, Guevara misses a 630, Sabian with the win. It was an effective match, but the crowd wasn't quite into these two. I hope they change how they do this pre-show setup of a singles match going forward. Maybe you can have a more setup marquee type match, right? Our opening match was SCU, which is Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, Scorpio Sky, defeating the Strong Hearts. Basically, your ex-Dragon Gate guys that started OWE, the Chinese wrestling promotion. This is Shima, El Lindemann, and T-Hawk. In a match that went 13 minutes, 38 seconds. Very enjoyable. It was so chaotic. The cardio with a lot of the older guys in the ring, like Kazarian, Daniels, and Shima. I don't know how they were doing it the whole time, but they were in very good shape. Very good, hot trios match to start out. Then we have our four-way women's match. And I say four-way, you might thinking, wasn't it a three-way? Well, no. It consisted of Britt Baker, Smiley Kylie Rae, and Nyla Rose. Brandy Rhodes comes out in all her gear, and you're just thinking to yourself, oh no, she's gonna insert herself into the match. She's gonna play like the Stephanie McMahon role, right? Well, it was a swerve. She says, I don't want this match to be great. I want it to be awesome. And you kind of think to yourself, no way. Boom, music hits. You see Awesome come across the screen. Awesome fucking Kong comes out. Nyla Rose and Awesome Kong do their big person spots. Nyla Rose spears Kong into the steps, takes her out of the match, and then Britt Baker and Kylie Rae go to work. And Kylie Rae worked her ass off in this match. Britt Baker is also a good worker, very much room for improvement, but Kylie Rae came across as the biggest babyface of the company, to me. Britt Baker taunting her, doing the smiley look, comes across as a good heel. Baker, and the way the match ended was utterly fantastic. It was like a poetry in motion, right? Baker super kicks her, and Kylie Rae has this yellow bow in her hair, and the bow flies off as she's getting kicked, and it added an extra drama as Britt Baker gets the win. Sometimes things in wrestling happen, and it just all works in just this nice flow of water, right? I love the match. Yeah, there was some things that Nyla Rose needs to work out. She was arguably the worst wrestler on the show. She's also the most green. Awesome Kong is very limited in her age now. She hasn't wrestled in a while, but the work that Kylie Ray and Britt Baker did was able to save the match. We have a tag team match between the Best Friends, that's Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta, facing off against Angelico and Jack Evans. Match only goes 12 minutes 42 seconds, but hey, that's a theme on this. Every match got its time, and it was so good. It was so well put together. No match went super over as they were supposed to. As you went on, the matches got longer, basically, or what they were supposed to do. Jack Evans on TV is so nice to see. A guy who's just put his body through hell on the independent scene, and him being shorter and just a gymnastic freak that he is. Angelico has, that's who Angelico is. He has his natural charisma, his little dance to the ring. And Beretta and Taylor doing their hug with the Okada Rainmaker, the camera zoom out is really fun. If this is what the tag team division in AEW is going to put together with programs, this was just a match, and it was like, holy crap, this is really good. We even get the lights go out, and out from the darkness pop the Super Smash Bros. From Canada. The best tag team in Canada, one of the best tag teams in the world. They were hit with sanctions to basically never come into the US again. Well, they're allowed back in the country. It seems a lot of these people are allowed back in the country again, such as Josh Alexander, and now the Super Smash Bros. Unfortunately, the crowd didn't know who they were. They were even chanting, "Who are you?" The Super Smash Bros. Are essentially video game villains. That's their gimmick. And when the lights went out and came back again, now there's minions in the ring, because what do super villains have? Minions. I quite like it. They make a throne of minions, and they sit on them after they beat down these two tag teams. And for those that don't know, the Young Bucks are on record saying their best tag team match ever was against the Super Smash Bros. So, there's your information regarding them. It's unfortunate the crowd didn't know who they were, and how essentially unknown the whole Canadian wrestling market is in the world. With a lot of I saw the same thing with Artemis Spencer in Progress this weekend. He got over. We're seeing Josh Alexander in Impact right now. He's getting over. He's set for Uncharted Territory episode 10, which I went to, and I could already say Josh Alexander had a good showing, and he got over. So, Canadian wrestlers, I lived in Canada for a couple of years, and I got to see a lot of these guys in these promotions, the one out of Hamilton and Smash Wrestling. Moving on, the Joshi match came across really well. That's Hikaru Shida, our former Oz champion we spoke about earlier on the show, which seems like forever ago. Then we had the Thailand champion Riho, with Ryo Mizunami defeating Aja Kong, Emi Sakura, and the magical girl Yuka Sakazaki. I give these 6 women, Aja Kong's a legend, then you have Emi Sakura and Ryo Mizunami, the Ice Ribbon and big-ass trainers of Joshi Wrestling, just being the characters that they are, right? They got over with the crowd, which makes me so happy, and this is what women's wrestling could be. This came across as wrestling. They even got the "This is wrestling" chant. They didn't say women's wrestling. You get that in WWE and NXT, where and I see it. I hear it on indie shows all the time, where people start chanting women's wrestling. This is wrestling. It gives you good feeling that if AEW wants to bring to the Western audience what different styles are going to be, and you have a hodgepodge of styles where there's something for everybody, and you want to bring women's wrestling up to a higher level in the West, this is how you do it. And seeing a reaction from the crowd like this, and it getting over, and being one of the best matches on the show, and I've listened to other podcasts cover this, and I was very curious to hear how a younger audience, and women in particular, were going to react to this match. And this one got over more than the 4-way match that was earlier in the night. So I'm very happy about this. Hikaru Shida took forever to get in the match. I wanted to see her so bad, so as a Josie fan, I was like, oh my god, get her in! Riho took a fucking beating. I went out of my way. I wasn't too familiar with Riho going into this. She was the one I knew the least, and now she's one of my favorite. I took to YouTube looking at the Thailand promotion that she's part of. She's only like 21. She's a double champion over there. She really impressed me. She's an excellent seller. She's really tiny. She really gets the crowd behind her. She is a natural babyface. And then Yuka Sakazaki, the former Josie Pro wrestler in that promotion, magical girl. She just exudes charisma with her cute persona. It's like, if you want someone to go, oh my god, that Japanese girl is so cute, she is the girl, and she's a good wrestler. There was 2 moments that kind of got you out of the match a little bit, like, oh, it was so close. Like, it would have been 4.5 stars easily if Yuka Sakazaki, when she did her top rope springboard splash to break up the pin, if that was on time better to break it up. But I see that in Josie wrestling all the time, where they want to break it up at the last second, and they just miss, and that causes the person being pinned to kick out on their own. But they're never on, like, finishers, right? Well, no, I take that back. Kind of. They are, kind of. And then there was the near fall at the end, where Emi Sakura is pinning Hikaru Shida after a big signature move, and the count. I understand. This is what I thought when I heard that. I'm like, the count was so close that the ring bell went off, and the ref, non-hesitation, just goes 2, right? The crowd didn't like it that much, but to me on TV watching it, I'm like, oh, hell yeah, right? It was so close that the guy on the bell thought it was done, right? But I could see why it's like, oh, what a botch, lame, kind of situation. But anyways. And Aja Kong is fucking Aja Kong. She looked like a machine. She freaking spike jump pile drives Rio like she's 1992 again. Good stuff. Cody defeats Dustin Rhodes in brother versus brother in a 22-minute, 28-second match. 5 stars. It's like NWA Gold situation there. All over again. They beat the hell out of each other. Dustin Rhodes bleeds like Jimmy Havoc from Progress. So I saw 2 people like almost die from blood loss. The in-ring story told in this match was very emotional. It's the most emotional match that I can think of seeing, personally. Like, it was, like, the crowd was into it. It was 5 stars. It's one of the best matches of the year, easily. And then the Cody post-match promo. I don't need a partner. I don't need a friend. I need a brother with the voice getting choked up, crying. Dude, like, this was my takeaway match. It stole the show. I wasn't sure how this was going to go down. The promos leading up to it were very good. And then somehow they stole the show. To me, this was Cody's and Dustin Rhodes, aka Goldust, defining match of their career. It's taken a long time for me to get on Cody Rhodes' side in his ring style, because it still felt like he was a WWE wrestler, right? He'd worked the same 4 moves. It looked like he worked the same match over and over again. And now he's found his shtick, right? And what makes Cody Rhodes unique is the old NWA style matches. We saw it with him at All In, earning the NWA title in his match against Nick Aldis. Now I saw it again here against Dustin with that NWA old school style match. Harping of the past. What works in the past, do it. In the triple threat match last year with Omega and Ibushi, and even with the singles match, IWGP match against Omega, they weren't that style. They were still good, but it still felt like he was doing more WWE than this NWA shtick that he's doing. And then, of course, Cody coming down and getting the sledgehammer and breaking the throne with Triple H's signal on it. You're just like, okay, shots fired. The war is on situation. So we'll see come the fall if this shot being fired is come to fruition. We have the Triple A tag team titles being defended as the champions Young Bucks facing off against the Lucha Brothers. This match went even longer, 24 minutes, 48 seconds. So at All In last year, they got kind of shafted with time constraints. You know, they had to rush their match. It was such a shame. And now this one was their big, like, coming out party, right? We're starting this thing. We're gonna tear the house down with tag team wrestling, and this match was fucking awesome. It's the best tag match of the year. Let me look at my my ranks here. Yes, I am saying this is the best tag team match of the entire year. Is the Young Bucks versus Lucha Bros. Nick Jackson really impressed. All his transitions were really smooth. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of that spot fest. You know, up until I want to say 2 years ago, I wasn't into the Young Bucks and their style, right? I just thought they were spot monkeys. Same thing with a lot of other tag teams out there. The difference now is these wrestlers are not just doing spots anymore. They're also working they're doing limb works, and they're selling, and they're working inside and out the ring now, as opposed to just doing tag team spots over and over and over and over again. Lucha Bros are still kind of doing that. That's why I still kind of like them in singles matches more. So Young Bucks win, and this really got you thinking, well, shit, man. All of the Elite Brethren are just being booked to win, right? We saw SCU go over. We saw Britt Baker go over. We saw Best Friends go over. We saw Cody, and now the Young Bucks go over. Well, obviously Omega's going to win, right, in the main event? And everyone was convinced Omega was going to win, too. Even beforehand, even if you take all that previous booking away, I wanted Jericho to win. I want Jericho to be the first AEW champion. Number of reasons. I want to see him as champion because he's Chris fucking Jericho, first of all. Second of all, he's Jericho's 50, I think. How old is Chris Jericho? Chris, forgive the typing. Chris Jericho. Jericho is 48. He's approaching 50. He's 48 years old. He has the most mileage of all these guys, right? Well, there's also Shima and Daniels and whatnot, but Jericho is your main event player, right? And he's 48. Get your mileage out of him in this 3-year span as much as you can, right? You don't want another Hulk Hogan instance where he holds the title too long, past his ability to even wrestle, and then you sign him again, and he's still in that main event role, right? That's a WCW mistake. Lessons learned would be what they should have done in the first hand, because Hogan was always in the limelight, right? And too long, in fact. So Jericho becoming the first champion, and then you can put guys over, and Jericho is still your kind of main event guy, but he's not your champion anymore, right? So him being the first champ would immediately bring prestige to that title, and the fact he's still performing at a high level is a big bonus. So that's my reasoning. So anyways, Chris Jericho defeats Kenny Omega in 26 minutes, 52 seconds in a main event fucking match. The table spots were my favorite parts, and that was crazy. The first minute, Kenny Omega gets his nose broken, so he's bleeding from the nose. And then Jericho has a table in front of him, and he's like using it as a blocking device, and Omega just goes down and fucking springboard from the ring to the outside, kicks the table. Later, Omega takes a big table spot. Jericho wins, hitting the code breaker as a big reversal, and then he hits his spinning back elbow move he calls the Judas effect. And then bang, 1, 2, 3. I like it. The best finishers in the business are the ones you can hit on anybody. And, you know, Jericho adding another move like this that got over, I think is a great thing. As long as it's not just a punch, right? Because if you have a punch, then that takes away your ability to fucking punch in the match. So, spinning back elbow, and he set it up like he had to get stanced up, like an MMA move. And he's been doing all this MMA training, so it all works in that story. But, you know, you have to kind of go that extra mile to do it. Post-match, the big news is Jon Moxley, the formerly known Dean Ambrose of WWE, comes through the crowd, huge-ass pop, gets in the ring, big black jacket, orange spray paint letters, MOX, Mox, in vertical manner, just looks at Jericho. He looks fucking crazy. He's all, nah, right? Dirty Deeds Jericho. All the while, Jericho's like, thank you, I'm the one who built this promotion. Everyone, when he hears the pop, he thinks it's for him. DDT's the ref. Double underhook arm DDT's the ref. You know, he's a crazy guy. He gets on the ropes. He's like doing the whole wafting, soaking it in, smelling it. Then he looks at Omega on the mat. Well, fuck, I gotta get him too, right? Omega fights back. They brawl all the way to the big-ass poker chips that are on the stage. They fight on top of the poker chip. Double arm DDT to Omega, and then he just puts him on his shoulders and throws him off the poker chips, taking a big-ass bump. Moxley is here. Holy shit. You know, I've never been a Jon Moxley fan because he was a big CZW guy, hardcore matches, death matches, right? Dean Ambrose never did it for me. He got a few good laughs out of me in WWE, but it always seemed like he was missing a character. His ring work never impressed me. Spoiler alert, it impressed me what I saw him against Deuce Robinson. That we'll cover in the next podcast episode. So, if Moxley here can step up his game and get that WWE stink off him, I'm for it, you know? I'm not against seeing new stars be made. Hot damn, I wasn't expecting it to be this big, this fast after his WWE leaving. So, we got one more segment left. I've been talking for hours now, and I got one last thing to do, and that's WCW Nitro from 1998. I hope you guys are ready. Here we go. I have no iTunes reviews to read for you guys. So if you want to just help this podcast get more notoriety, Red Leaf Retrocast in general, not just the wrestling cast, please leave an iTunes review. Very easy to do. If you leave a Stitcher review, that works as well. Any place where you can leave a review, or even just do some advertising, pump out the podcast any way you want. Help me out there. And with that, WCW Nitro, June 22nd, 1998. And if you remember a couple podcasts ago, we're coming off the heels of the Great American Bash still, and I thought to myself, I'm pretty sure, with the way my memory goes, this is where not only Nitro, but WCW in general starts going downhill. And the more I thought about this was, as I've been watching Thunder for the podcast since its inception in January of 1998, Thunder was very bland and filler. Like, I wasn't getting a lot of stories out of it. I felt I was missing a good chunk of what is WCW. And there's a reason for that, because the more I thought about it, I go, oh my god. So I've got to watch a Nitro episode. I got a lot more story, a lot more to talk about, a lot more of the bigger stars, right? A lot more of the people we need to care about. So this was a good turning point to start watching Nitro. And to start seeing, like, what went wrong, right? So I made a bunch of notes as I was thinking about it. You know, of what I remember, who I like seeing, and some of the mishaps. So I'm going to be I got my notes of Nitro, and I got some notes of what's been missing. So I'm just going to go right before going into the show. I'm going to go into what is missing from me just going, I gotta watch the next episode of Nitro every week, right? So here's some things. Nash and the powerbomb angle has been simply dropped. Remember earlier this year with the whole giant situation? That was really fun, where he kept doing the powerbomb and getting arrested, right? Well, that's simply gone. I don't understand. Nash is with the NWO Wolfpack now. That's great. We're all about the Wolfpack. It's got a catchy song, but what happened to that angle? Ric Flair and Bret Hart are, like, doing nothing. Ric Flair's been absent for no reason since the Bret Hart feud. That feud was simply... That just disappeared. They had a good match. Still no Scott Hall on TV, and hardly mentioning him. Like, if at all. And then Nash is making no reference to Scott Hall's heel turn at all, which is weird, because they're the outsiders, right? So I had to, like, do some historical research here on, like, there has to be more than just they dropped him and it disappeared. So here's some things. Ric Flair's in the midst of a lawsuit with WCW because he went to his kid's wrestling event and he told WCW he was going, and so they're suing him for, like, all kinds of shit because he was being a father. So that makes no sense. So that now they have animosity with Ric Flair, one of their biggest stars. Bret Hart, they want to be a bad guy, but they keep just from what I read in the what's been going on, Bret Hart's a bad guy, but he keeps getting cheered because he's Bret Hart. So they just leave him off TV and put him in bit roles whenever, like, NWO is involved. Scott Hall is apparently going through major drinking issues and he's crashing cars left and right. So they're keeping him off in rehab. But that still doesn't make any sense why they're just not mentioning him on TV. Because he just had a big heel turn. So, also keep in mind, here's some other things. Currently, New Japan is pissed off with Bischoff and WCW because apparently Bischoff and WCW pulled a power move holding sanctions on NWO rights. So they're not letting people in New Japan NWO join in their little faction so they can build up their own faction over there in New Japan, and even team with Chono and Tenzan. So, if you remember when Rad was a member of this podcast, we would talk about, like, when we discovered New Japan Wrestling, like, truthfully, and what we were doing in '98. Like, nobody in the West knew even what New Japan was, nor would they care. Nor do they care, right? So there's that. And then WCW is apparently sending no-name talent over to New Japan and their competitor All Japan, while New Japan kept sending over guys like Chono and Tenzan and Nagata, their biggest stars. So there was not equal footing there. So now New Japan's all pissed off at them. So that kind of makes sense why all of a sudden we started seeing guys like Tokyo Magnum and Ultimo Dragons group. Then I got curious. When did the ratings start becoming an issue? Because up until a point, WCW's ratings were beating WWF's. And lo and behold, in May of 1998 is when WWF started beating them in the ratings war. So Right now in June, WWF is currently on the hotshot success of the Austin winning the title at Mania and kickstarting the Austin McMahon feud, which was very famous. Plus, DX with X-Pac, aka formerly Six of the NWO, is in full locomotion. So you have Austin McMahon and then DX. So that explains why their main event thing is so popular. Not to mention, Mick Foley and The Rock are also going off the rails here as well, and The Undertaker's still there. So, there you go. There's my notes of what's going wrong right now with all these things just seemingly disappearing. So now let's get into the show. June 22nd, 98 Nitro starts with recapping Rodman and Hogan attacking DDP and mentioning the eventual involvement of Karl Malone. Yes, the Chicago Bulls versus Utah Jazz, 1998. My fucking childhood. This only exacerbates my hatred of the Bulls, being such a diehard Utah Jazz fan. Yes, I was born in Salt Lake City. I'm a Utah Jazz fan, still to this day. So I was huge on the whole Karl Malone DDP with that concept of beating my all-time hated wrestler Hulk Hogan and Dennis Rodman, a member of the fucking Chicago Bulls. So my sports childhood and wrestling kind of came together in a, God, if Hogan and Rodman don't get the shit kicked out of them, I will be so mad. So that's my own personal feelings of what was going on in my head as a child in the summer of 1998. All right, Lynn Denton comes out. I sense a Goldberg moment. But nope. He's facing Disco fucking Inferno. Short match, it sucked. Disco wins via pile driver. Fuck that. What a horrible way to start off Nitro. Who's Lynn Denton? Exactly. Mean Gene interviews NFL player Kevin Green, the all-time linebacker, sacks leader at the time, who cuts a very strange, awkward promo talking about him leaving the Jaguars as they are in Jacksonville for Carolina Panthers. Crowd boos. This is supposed to be a babyface celebrity guest, by the way. Then he is saved by Mean Gene, bringing up Goldberg. It's okay, I see where they're going here. So Green can say they used to be roommates when they were on the same football team. This triggers Kurt Hennig and Ravishing Rick Rude to come out. They talk some shit to him. The Giant attacks him from behind. Beatdown occurs. So Kevin Green gets all pissed off. He runs to the back. He's not going to handle this beatdown. During the commercial break, it shows Green and Giant in a scrum of sorts yelling at each other, leading to a verbal agreement to fight in the ring. So that's happening in your main event of the evening. This is followed by Yuji Nagata with Sonny Ono versus Tokyo Magnum. For those that aren't familiar, Tokyo Magnum was a dancing male stripper gimmick from Japan. Might I add, he helped kickstart Dragon Gate promotion. Tokyo Magnum attempted to do some flippy shit and use his quickness, but Nagata wasn't having it. Fun little camera spot of Nagata crushing his face in the corner of the camera. Knee bar submission for the win. They called it the Nagata lock. We know it more as the one where he sits on their shoulders, cranks their arm back, and he puts his eyes in the back of his head. So, move changed over the years. This is the good part of going back and watching these retro dives, is because I get to see all these wrestlers from the past, and Nagata's still going. I'm seeing the start of the Dragon Gate wrestlers, right? Fun match. I quite liked it. Cuts quick to the back, seeing Stevie Ray jumping Benoit out of the locker room, so continuing that feud nicely. At least there's continuity. Raven video promo talking about coming from a broken home, how his dad used to beat him, and he channels that onto his enemies. You have to be cruel to be kind, he says. Quote the Raven, nevermore. Sure, okay. I don't know where that's going. I mean, we're still in the midst of the whole Canyon against the Flock. I don't know what that has to do with it, but I guess maybe we'll find out in the coming weeks. Next match. This has all seemed rapid fire too. Public Enemy versus Horace and Sick Boy of the Flock. my man Lodi ringside. So you know what that means. What do Lodi's signs say? Well, signs tonight say, forget what you know, and Horace collects stop signs. He also has, everyone wants to be sick. So, match was not good. Very sloppy, pretty junk. But I liked Lodi and his signs. Bret Hart out with an interview with Mean Gene. Bret talks about how it's the fans' fault they turned two good Canadians against each other. How his family built Benoit, how that's why he's all talented, how the fans ruined a good Canadian. All a promo getting hyped for their match later tonight, depending on now Benoit's condition, because he got jumped. So, Bret Hart going against Chris Benoit. Okay. He did interfere in the match. He wanted Benoit to join the NWO. I talked about Bret Hart like having that Ric Flair feud and then it just being dropped. Okay, maybe we're getting somewhere here. Because besides that, he's done nothing, right? We remember his WCW debut was as a referee at Starrcade, and then he just kind of wandered around for months until his Ric Flair thing. So as a big Bret Hart fan, I'm excited for this future Benoit feud that we might be getting. All right, Goldberg time, and as usual, the pop and chants are as loud as ever. He's a 101-0, and he defeats 6'5", 300-pound Rick Fuller in 75 seconds. There you go. Streak continues. Wolfpack time. Conan, Sting, and Nash are here to pump up the crowd. There is a strange blonde inflatable doll moment. Sting puts the mic to. It's supposed to, I guess, look like Hulk Hogan. Each guy says their catchphrase. Then Sting makes an open tag title challenge. Crowd's in the palm of their hands. So who am I to argue about this? Just seemed kind of odd. Alex Wright versus Eddie Guerrero. Before the match, Chavo sneaks up from behind, scaring Eddie, and gives him this crazy look and encourages him. So good character work from Chavo going. I still like it. It's still playing off how Eddie has basically made Chavo crazy. It's ongoing. Eventually, Chavo goes back to the back. Eddie Guerrero and Alex Wright have their match, and then Chavo comes back out. He's yelling profusely in a microphone. Just random stuff. You know, come on, Eddie, you can do it, Uncle. Eddie gets distracted. Wright gets the win. And then Chavo gets in the ring, talking to Eddie about Monopoly and how he was doing this in a game. And Eddie just looks at him and he's telling him, dude, you're crazy. What are you doing? He walks away. Then Chavo crazy follows him, continuing to talk about Monopoly. Kind of weird, but because Chavo's crazy, it works. So I'm still liking Crazy Chavo for now. We'll see where it leads, right, guys? Next match is Conan versus Riggs of the Flock. Lodi has two signs. Yes, Lodi's out for a second helping. I love it. Lodi is your idol. There was one. And then Math 101. Pi r squared equals 3.14. So, there you go. Not even the skill of Conan could get a good match out of Riggs. This was pretty slow and sloppy overall. So, not a whole lot of good wrestling. We're about 50-50 right now on the night. Stevie Ray versus the returning to the ring Steve Mongo McMichael. This match wasn't very good either. Just slow and meandering. Stevie Ray eventually gets a chair, causing Benoit to run to the ring and take it away from him. Because nothing saves a bad match like interference. Then the match just simply ends. Just because. Booker T takes the chair from Benoit. And then Benoit goes over to McMichael. Stevie Ray and Booker T do their thing. They walk away. Benoit throws up 4 fingers into the air. Fans chanting, "We want Flair." Well, funny enough, I just mentioned what are the problems right now is there's no Ric Flair. So maybe someday we'll get him back. So a slow reunion of the Four Horsemen seems very imminent now. We'll see how long it takes. Meanwhile, Booker T and Stevie Ray simply walk away, as I said. NWO Hollywood out for typical Bischoff and Hogan time, accompanied by Scott Steiner, The Disciple, and Miss Elizabeth. I was very uninterested in the Hogan monologue, as usual. It's getting worse. It really is. It is like this dedicated segment, whether it was on Thunder every week, and now on Nitro, where you just have to have this Bischoff-Hogan monologue. I don't get it. And they last forever. It's just, let me tell you something, brother. I gotta make fun of the Macho Man and his broken leg from Great American Bash. Then it's a lot of runaround about Rodman, and Rodzilla is gonna beat up the mailman and DDP at the beach. Blah, 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 blah. Bischoff laughs and he's like, ah ha ha, okay. It's the same thing every week. Yeah, whatever. Bret Hart versus Benoit, finally! And, oh, this match didn't disappoint. Finally! Since the Tokyo Magnum Nagata match, I get a match I'm into. Well, okay, I'm into the Goldberg matches, I will admit. You know, they're very quick. He beats the guy, it's over. You know, I can't really complain too much about it. And it's super over with the crowd. And I will admit, as I was a kid, the fucking Goldberg streak, awesome. So anyways, Benoit and Bret Hart goes over 12 minutes. Great technical work. Good back and forth. And then the matches, of course, ended in a distraction. So, how does WCW fuck this matchup? Well, you can't have Benoit, I guess, lose to Bret Hart clean, because Bret Hart's a bad guy. So instead, we get Stevie Ray comes out for a distraction, because at least there's continuity here, I will admit. Because Stevie Ray is pissed off at Benoit, so he beats the shit out of him in the back. Benoit still comes out. Stevie Ray comes out for a distraction because he didn't finish the job. That's how I'm taking it, right? Bret uses this distraction and clocks Benoit in the back of the head with a roll of quarters or something. And I messed up earlier the Progress Walter Trent Seven finish, because I watched this at the same time as Nitro. Benoit's the one that Bret Hart's the one that puts Benoit on top of him after. It was so similar. Wow. The foreign object hitting in the back of the head, faking out the ref. Oh my god, Nitro and Progress worked. Oh, this is revelation I'm having right now. Alright, well anyways, Benoit kicks out, puts Benoit on the sharpshooter, or Bret Hart kicks out, puts Benoit on the sharpshooter. Benoit is straight knocked out. Ref stoppage. Bret wins. I liked it. I really did. However, it was not the main event. The main event was Kevin Green. Yes, football linebacker Kevin Green versus the Giant, and no joke, this is how Nitro ends. Hot tackles from Green, but alas runs into the brick wall that is the Giant. This lasts for exactly 57 seconds, and the NWO comes down for a DQ. I would not bullshit you guys. That's what happens. Are we shocked? NWO rundown. Trash is profusely thrown in the ring as fans chant for Goldberg. And to my surprise, Goldberg indeed does come out. Spears Vincent on the ramp. Double spears Adams and the Disciple as Hennig, Rude, and Giant flee. Crowd erupts. Oh, we get a happy ending despite the shit main event finish. Green lays down a challenge at Bash at the Beach for him and Goldberg to face Giant and Headache. So now we have our second celebrity match at Bash at the Beach. Not only do we have Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman in a match, much like in 1997, Dennis Rodman was at the beach. Now we also have football player Kevin Green. Now, I will admit, he's not the most horrible celebrity in the ring, from what I've seen here, in his limited role. We'll see what happens at the beach. But yeah, that was Nitro. That was the Red Leaf Retrocast. All I have left to do now is to go over the wrestler rankings. So I'll just do it hot fire like I always do and then post it on Twitter of the updated rankings at a later date. That's Red Leaf Retrocast at BowlingJD on Twitter. Naturally, you can find this podcast on all your favorite outlets, except SoundCloud. The women, 10, Kagetsu, 9, Yuka Sakazaki, 8, Britt Baker, 7, Valkyrie, 6, Tony Storm, 5, Riho, 4, Chris Statlander, 3, Hikaru Shida, 2, Maya Yukihi, and 1, Kylie Ray. I probably overrated Kylie Ray, but she impressed me so much in her single performance at Double or Nothing. I'm just giving her the slight edge over the Joshi wrestlers. The men, 15, Kenny Omega, 14, Chris Jericho, Boss J, you're going to see a lot of Boss J names on this one. 13, Roppongi 3K, 12, El Phantasmo, 11, Young Bucks, 10, Adam Cole, 9, Lucha Bros, 8, Kyle O'Reilly / Undisputed Era. It does not include Adam Cole because he's mostly a singles wrestler. 7, Pac, 6, Volter, 5, Will Ospreay, 4, David Starr, 3, Jordan Devlin, 2, Shingo Takagi, and 1, Cody Rhodes. So there you go. If you disagree, hit me up on Twitter. But that's the podcast, yo. We've come to an end, just under 3.5 hours. I've done it. Look forward to episode 33. Look forward to all of the groundbreaking milestones we'll be doing here on the Red Leaf Retrocast. We're coming back for a 3rd year. Officially. Hit me up on Twitter and all the social medias. And I'll see you next time.